How many famous bald men can you list off the top of your head? Off the top of...
Professor Xavier.
Okay, he's fictional. Let's stick with real ones.
Oh, right. Well,
okay,
all right.
That does limit the field.
He is famous, but he's famous fictional one.
I'm Mr. Bezos.
Okay.
I don't know who that is.
He's talking about Jeff Bezos, honey.
Oh, okay.
Hefe.
Good job. That is one.
That is a famous. He's not famous for anything other than being
well known
fucking
for sure.
rich. Yeah.
Yeah.
Filthy rich.
Can you think of any other ones?
The actor who plays Professor Xavier.
Is he bald in real life, regularly? I don't know.
That's wrong about the new one.
Well, you really missed a very important one. His name is Mr. Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel is what I'm looking for, Ethan. Do you know why?
I feel in my heart that Vin Diesel is not a famous person, even if he actually is.
Holy shit.
So wrong.
He's gonna come beat your ass. He's gonna beat all of our asses.
I mean, it's crazy that you couldn't think of the many different famous bald men that are in the movies we're about to talk about, which is the Fast and the Furious movies.
All right,
Ethan.
Okay, I'm down with this sickness.
You have to remember, Ethan hasn't seen a movie in 12
I cannot
years.
believe you didn't even think of like The Rock.
Like Dwayne The Rock
Dwayne
Johnson.
The Rock Johnson.
Is he? I mean, he's got a. Does he shave his head, or is he just easy bald man?
Ethan only knows him from that one picture.
I guess I don't
where
personally know, but
in a turtleneck and wearing a chain. You know that one?
He's usually bald these days.
I don't know. I see. I just saw him with his new Maui getup and his long and flowing locks.
That's probably not real, surely. It's probably a wig.
No, he grew that all out for.
That'd be really impressive.
That's somehow going to be a cold open.
A lot of the famous bald men. It has a lot of the famous bald men, but not Professor Xavier or Patrick Stewart or Jeffrey Bezos.
No, they're not known for being bald. They're known for being big and strong.
It is iconic to their looks. I will say
for sure, but they've also got like huge biceps that like are the size of children.
Yeah.
See, this is probably what Ethan's thinking of. He has hair in this one.
When he was younger.
Ethan only knows him from his pro wrestling days. Back when he had like that little like
yeah. He had a buzz cut.
I have not seen The Rock since then. What's he been up to?
he's got like a little tuft of something up there. Oh dang, look at this one. That's crazy. He doesn't look anything like that anymore. He's doing the Rock face.
Vine boom sound eyebrow raise.
Yeah. He loves that shit.
All right, let's somehow figure out a way to onboard this episode.
Well, I already did. I thought that was the
you
cold
tried.
opener.
That was the before the music though. Now we're back from the music. We have to. That's always the hardest part. Is coming back from the music and figuring out what to say next.
Okay.
God, I wish Fran were here.
Do you know why car go fast?
Because family, right?
They drink the things that dinosaurs used to be made of, and
No.
dinosaurs were fast.
No, it was what Ethan said.
Oh shit!
Because
yeah!
Damn it,
strong bonds with each other.
Oh my god! Speaking of strong bonds, welcome to The Lore You Know, a podcast where three friends, sometimes more, not this time, talk about your favorite media that you grew up with and love, and here to tell you the mostly correct facts about things, cars mostly, is me, CJ.
Me, Ethan.
And yet again, filling in for girl, it's me, Liz.
You just are on the podcast now.
Yeah,
you're not even. You don't even like fill in anymore. You're just like.
But I'm also hosting this time.
You say that we have just as many girls on the podcast as we do boys, just not at the same time.
Yeah,
because I don't like the energy you guys feed each other.
You don't like feminine energy? That's interesting.
No, CJ only likes feminine energy when he can control it.
Mhm.
When there's too many women together, then he doesn't feel powerful anymore.
That is yeah.
Seems right.
I don't even like it when that many guys get together. Quite honestly, I like 3 or 4 tops is my sweet spot where I can really dominate the conversation.
I'm really sorry to say there are a lot of men in this series, so you might be uncomfortable.
They are a lot of powerful men.
A lot of really powerful men.
That would make they would just like they wouldn't outsmart me, but they would beat me up in a fight for sure.
Yeah. I have a we'll call it a confession. I have not seen a single Fast and Furious movie. I know nothing about it except memes.
Yeah, I know a lot about your personality because I've known you a long time, and that is like doesn't surprise me. Like it's a real. This is a real pedal to the metal series, Ethan, and you've got a sort of limp-wristed soy boy attitude that I don't think would work very well with the Fast and the Furious. You're not. I would not call you fast or furious if I'm being completely honest.
Ethan,
I mean, not descriptors I use often.
Ethan, it's okay because I actually have seen all of these for the first time over the last few months. I just decided I was tired of missing out.
She's really gotten into it.
And I've become a Fast and Furious head.
Sort of a Fast and Furiosa.
A Fast and Furious. No, that's a different movies franchise. So
yeah, I was just trying to make it girl coded.
An F and F head. I don't know. Not FNAF. F and F.
Wow, we are getting further from the target. Yeah,
listen. You were talking about how much of a soy boy Ethan is. I'm going to start. I want to preface this with we are going to go through these movies with the end goal of understanding how these started as movies about illegal street racing and became movies about crazy heist spy movies.
Yeah, I have a theory about this. We can talk about it later if we really feel like it. But like, I think this is modern day American folklore. Like it is the idea that if you've got your best bros and some fast cars, there's nothing you can't accomplish. And like, no matter the task at hand, it could be anything. It's like, you know how like Paul Bunyan is like, he's very specifically good at chopping down big trees and having a big ox. But like in his world, in his reality, that's all you need. Like that's it to be like the perfect guy. In the Fast and the Furious, would I put these people in charge of like a daycare? Or like would I have these people like, you know, run a grocery store? No, they cannot be counted on for that. But in their world, being good at cars is all you need. And that whole like, it's American, it's fast, it's furious. There's an ethnically diverse cast that kind of represents America.
Vin Diesel is ethnically ambiguous.
That's what Vin Diesel said.
That's what he like says.
He's like, I'm ethnically ambiguous.
I don't know. I feel weird about that. I will just put that out there because he's like, well, my mom is. I think his mom was like white and mixed with something else, and then like he has an adoptive father who is black.
Yeah, that's his adoptive father.
Isn't his not blood relative
so
father.
What,
I don't know. Anyway.
we just talked about it being a folklore character. What is this character's name? Because I feel like it's going to be inferior.
It's not
to
Vin Diesel.
No, it's actually exactly the same. It's not Vin, but
Did you know that that's not even his real name? Vin Diesel?
I did. Yes.
It's Mark Sinclair, which is a pretty cool name.
That's a cool name too. He took a cool name and he's like, that's
it's a very different vibe. It is
a different vibe. I will also preface this with, I think going off of what CJ was saying, this series feels at times like a D&D campaign.
It is.
And
Yeah.
it becomes far more apparent as we go forward. And I do ultimately land on, having seen all of them now, I land on that these are fantasy movies in the
Yeah,
vein
fuck
of
yeah.
a D&D campaign that is led by Vin Diesel.
All right, well, I'm stoked
So
now.
let's go.
Yeah.
Let's dive into the world of the
Let
Fast
me-
and the Furious.
Here, Ethan, as we start, let me treat you to my. This is also for everyone on YouTube specifically. Let me treat you to my Vin Diesel smile of approval face. That's how he agrees with things.
Vin
He's
Diesel
like
really squints.
he's like a
for,
cat.
For those just listening, Vin Diesel really squints.
He's like you know how like cats when they look at you and they like squint their eyes closed to be like I'm comfortable by you. That's how Vin Diesel like shows his approval of something.
I
And
feel
then
a
he's just
kinship
got, like,
with him.
It's like his muscles, his like body muscles are so powerful and strong. It's like pulling his face down, so he can't like smile. So the best he can do is like try and get the lips to curl up a little bit with his powerful cheek muscles.
Yeah, see, I'm used to him from the other series where he does not need to smile because he is the space cowboy murderer man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is Riddick as well. Unfortunately, Ethan, or fortunately, there is no official Fast and Furious tabletop RPG system, but you could make it.
I could.
There you go.
I won't.
Okay.
That's okay. So also I'm going to go through each movie. There is a video game or two based on the Fast and the Furious, but
Hell
I'm
yeah.
not going to cover them. There is also
They are canon, though.
Yeah, they are canon. There is there's also a canon children's animated series, The Fast and the Furious.
Mhm.
But I'm also not going to
I
cover
love that. Yeah.
So this is, I often call creators cowards because they will like make side things that aren't canon. And I'll be like, just put it in the canon, fool. This movie, they're like, yeah, whatever. It's all the same. It's all canon. It
Yep.
happened on screen.
This is one of the few franchises that's like, yeah,
It's
everything is for real happening.
Although it doesn't really matter.
But a lot of things don't matter.
Yeah.
So also my setup, I'm going to start finally talking about the first movie here. My setup, though, is I'm going to do a really short description, and I'm going to make sure I cover the characters, new and reviewing old ones when we get into the other movies. I'm going to highlight a cool car stunt, and also really important because of how much it changes, I'm going to, at the end, answer the question, is everyone on good terms with the law? Because this is something that will change quite a lot.
Right. This is a movie that has a very, I would say, complicated relationship with like the idea of the Justice Department. Like it
I don't know if it's all that complicated. But
it both like it's that like American thing. It both like fantasizes the idea of like
you're so good at being a criminal.
Like, yeah, like
they'll forgive you.
Being like a secret agent, like working for your country, but also like the idea of being like an officer, like a police officer is like they're the enemy.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have a very clear thing to say on that, but in fairness, it's not really trying to. So it doesn't like it's more for the audience of like, hey, are they running away from the cops this time or are they with the cops this time? Hard to say.
I mean, yeah. That being said, The Fast and the Furious, the first movie that started it all. We open in this movie, we meet Brian, who is an undercover LA police officer, and he is investigating a heist crew who has been responsible for, one, driving heavily modified Honda Civics, which is a very specific, but that is what it is.
That was like the cool car.
I liked that because I drive a Honda Civic, so I was like, oh.
They're not souping up those guys.
Well, this was also in like 2000, so
yeah.
And also they've been continuously pulling off these crazy heists, hijacking semis, which are carrying like electronic goods that they steal and sell.
Okay, sure.
So that takes him to the Toretto Cafe and Grocery, which is connected to the Toretto Auto Shop.
All
And
right, yeah.
we meet Dominic Toretto, who is Vin Diesel.
His name's Dominic Toretto.
He goes by Dom. He tunes performance vehicles out of his auto shop, which is connected to their family cafe store, which is run by his sister Mia Toretto. But at night, Dom leads a team of street racers and also hijacks semis to steal their stuff, but to support his family.
Yeah.
Okay?
Also,
He sounds like he's doing pretty well already.
it's important to note that this is like 2002, so the things that they're stealing are like DVD
They're-
players
yeah,
in
they're-
bulk.
Yeah,
Like, not
I love
even
that.
like they're like VHS players specifically. I think it is noted that that's what they are.
Yeah. They're it's like consumer electronics. Like,
Yeah.
Like TVs with tubes in them.
So Brian,
Yeah.
Brian, he starts this so inconspicuously because he shows up at the cafe and starts flirting with Mia. And eventually, he does get into a bit of a fight with some of Dom's crew, which are really minor characters, but I'll point out one of them being Vince, who's like the big brutish guy, super muscly. He is like the second hand of Dom in this movie. He's a childhood friend of Dom. He will appear later, which is why I bring him up. The other two, we never see again. But through some racing and some modifying cars with something called NOS, which is not the energy drink. However,
It's the same brand.
it's what the energy drink is named
I'm gonna
after.
choose to think of it as the energy drink.
I mean, it is the same brand.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
it's nitrous oxide, which is why it's called NOS.
So through some
Yeah,
racing,
I like that.
and fighting a rival gang, Brian ends up getting on good terms with Dom and into his inner circle, which is what he wanted the whole time as he was undercover. But those squinty eyes and shiny bald head of Dom are just really, really hard to resist for Brian because he's really smitten
Yeah.
with this lifestyle and what Dom has going. So, in the end, Brian ends up letting Dom escape police custody on purpose because he has formed such a bond with him through racing cars illegally.
They race cars like twice, by the way.
And they go fast. Car go fast with NOS.
Car go really fast.
I also like to point out, because this just comes up some more, Brian and Dom, they initially have a little race, and Dom proves his superiority pretty easily, that no one ever beats Dom in a race, ever. However, at the end of this movie, Dom and Brian kind of tie, is what I would say, and ends in Brian being like, "Get out of here. I'll protect you from the police."
Yeah, he was so the verbiage they use now and through the whole movie is a 10-second car. Can you guess what a 10-second car is, Ethan?
Is that the speed at which it can, like, the time it takes to get to max speed or something?
That's crazy, Ethan. If you're talking from like 0 to 60, it's like 3 seconds. No, a 10-second car is a car that can do a quarter mile in 10 seconds.
Okay.
But then like Dom, in one of the races, Dom and I don't ever remember. Was it Brian? That's a crazy name. I just call him Paul Walker. He's played by Paul Walker. I just call him Paul Walker all
Brian
the time.
is his name as the character.
But like Paul Walker and Vin Diesel have this like race where they like Paul Walker like wrecks Vin Diesel's car and he's like, "You owe me a 10-second car." And then at the end, he's like, "The police are coming. You got to get out of here. Take this, my 10-second car. Now we're even." These two love each other. They're
love each
in
other.
love with each other.
That's why I said he's just so hard to resist. Mr.
They
Vin
are.
Diesel.
Yeah.
They are like the only.
They share a strong bond.
Yeah,
in
they
like the anime way.
Yeah,
you
they
know?
really do. The like, it's difficult to describe, but like this movie is filled with like hot, sexy women like shaking their ass on the hoods of cars and stuff.
Nice, yeah.
And it's supposed to like appeal to the like young man audience, obviously,
Which it
Yep,
does.
to see these scantily clad women just like bounce their booty on stuff. But like the main characters, because they're so cool, are like ignoring all of this thing that isn't the car racing, and they're like only paying attention to each other. And so the effect that happens is you're like, oh, these guys love each other. Like they are so enamored with each other. They all have like girlfriends and wives and stuff as the series goes on.
Beards
But-
and whatnot. Yep.
But like the like interactions that they have with women are, because a car show written by men, the interactions they have with women are so like nothing. But then when the boys talk to each other, you can feel that
You can
spark.
feel it,
Like
yeah.
it really is so dynamic whenever they're like talking to each other, and they're all like quipping, and they're all trying to like get the last word in, and they're all like doing like cheeky half smiles at each other. And it's like, yeah, these guys love each other. They love
Yeah.
cars, and they
Mhm.
love they love their bros in a completely unplatonic way, in like a sexy way.
I mean, speaking of, I also forgot to introduce Dom's girlfriend,
Yeah,
Letty.
whatever. Who
She's
gives
a
a
very
shit?
tough girl. In a later movie, Dom is referred to as Alpha, and she is Mrs. Alpha, and that's a pretty apt way of putting it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
This movie
Yeah.
it wasn't ahead of the curve, it like was the curve. Like,
Right. It was exactly on the.
Right. Like, you know how my I've been thinking about this lately. You know, people who are like, the big thing right now is like, I'm a glitch. They're like, I'm a glitch in the Matrix.
No, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
That's what like because you can't say like alpha and sigma and stuff anymore, because that's like cringe, and like they know it's cringe now.
But
so they,
but glitch in the Matrix
Right.
is like
So they
Yeah.
come up, but they're always like, they always have this like, I'm the main character, everything, you know, bends to my whim or whatever, but they can't come up with their own like metaphor for like they cannot think of an original way to say what they are. And then the idea is like, so you're saying the Matrix is like about you? Like, let's pretend it's not about being trans, which it is, but let's pretend like you are watching without media literacy. And it's like, you think that movie was made about your life specifically? And then they're like, yeah, man. And it's just like, okay, dude. Anyway,
Well,
yeah,
this is about Dom's life, and he is the main character, I would say.
And he's a total alpha glitch.
dude.
That's right.
I will say though, this movie does not follow the trends in that it like, you know, they need to make Dom like the alpha. Like, I would say this movie almost entirely ignores pop culture and replaces it entirely with car lore. Like it's like
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
like they don't need to describe why Dom is number one. He just always wins every drag race he's in, and that's the most important thing.
He does not lose.
It is like an anime, because
Yeah.
you know how in anime there's like a thing that is like all encompassing to society, like in Yu-Gi-Oh it's cards. In
Yeah.
Fast and Furious it's just cars. Everything is cars, and if you're good at cars, you're good at everything.
Yep.
Yeah, all right. I love this. I'm
Yeah.
so in.
Um,
I mean, I now have in my head like a 90s anime cartoon sent to
It-
America, but
it
you know,
really is.
I'm having fun.
This will be good for you, Ethan, because I know you have low T. I know you have a weak stream, and this I think is gonna like help you with those things.
Great. I want to highlight that the car stunt from this one, besides, there's really just cargo fast
Mhm.
in this one.
Yeah, the
but
first one's kind of boring. Actually.
overall, I would say it's kind of surprising this movie took off, because I feel it's not amazing.
Well,
but
see,
whatever.
Lizzie doesn't know what it's
I
like to
can't-
be a teenager.
I was gonna
in,
say I
like,
can't tap into
2005.
2000 boy, so
yeah, a teenage
don't
boy
know.
in 2005. So she doesn't get it at all. But I was watching this and I was like, I get it.
Also, so the car stunt highlight besides cargo fast is they do feature the hijacking of a semi while it is on the freeway, and that is pretty fun.
Mhm.
And the guy driving the semi is like shooting at them one-handed with a shotgun.
Yeah, he's like
He's doing a great job.
He's like cloaked in shadow. You never see his face. He's just like an NPC, and he is like defending his truck from these street racers one-handed with a shotgun. And I was like, "What's this guy?"
I was like, D&D campaign, which they don't stop him, by the
yeah,
way.
he gets away.
D&D
Like,
campaign, this was like
This
they
is the
gave
boss.
the kids too high of a level boss, and they did not did not beat him. As I said too, I'm going to end the first movie with, is everyone on good terms with the law? Literally no one is.
Mm-hmm.
Because Brian, because he let Dom get away, he is no longer on good terms with the LAPD.
Yep.
We find out that there is a 6-minute short film that comes before the second movie that is about what Brian does between the first and the second movie, which is he quits the LAPD before they come for him. He's like, "You can't fire me, I quit." And then he's on the run.
Right, because he also broke a bunch of laws.
Yeah, I know.
Right, but they're like, if we come after him for breaking those laws, then they're gonna come after us for breaking all the laws.
We gotta come after
broke.
every cop for breaking laws.
He goes on the run, and he makes money through street racing, and he ends up in Miami. That's all that is for that. It's called the turbocharged prelude to Too Fast, Too Furious, which is the name of the second movie, which is a great sequel name.
Yeah,
it is.
However, for a movie, is also at the bottom for me in terms of ranking of these movies.
Lizzie does not like the old ones.
I don't like the first and second one very much.
Also, Ethan, I know you're a bit of a gamer, so I want to put this in gamer terms, but the.
CJ cannot speak English for the life of him.
But the so when we talk about NOS, you should be thinking of the invincibility star from Mario, with the caveat that if you do it at the wrong time, and the wrong time is either too early or too late, depending on whatever Dom says. Dom will let you know that's too early.
He'll be like, early.
Too early. Or he'll be like, too late.
Too late, kid.
But once you activate your NOS, your car becomes invincible and you win.
It goes very fast.
As long as you do it at the right time. And part of it is speed, but part of it is also just
force.
If there's an explosion enveloping your car, if you NOS at the right time, you will survive it.
Yeah, you get right out. You got those iframes.
Exactly. So keep this in mind. Whenever we say NOS, that is shorthand for your car is invincible now. How do we know? Did you NOS at the right time?
Mario
It'll be
Star.
If Dominic Toretto goes
Mario Star is. That is a very apt way to put it.
Fuck yeah.
So, Too Fast, Too Furious. We are now in Miami. Rather than the first movie, we are in LA.
They wasted the name on this movie. That sucks so bad.
Yeah, so I bet you're really excited to hear about what Dom is doing next. Well, too bad, because Dom is not in this movie at all.
It's crazy. They have Fast and Furious movies without Vin Diesel, and you can feel it the whole time.
Yep. So we're following Brian. He is obviously on the run from the LAPD. However,
it's Paul Walker, and people do like him, so there is that.
He's very handsome and charismatic.
I agree. That's what Vin likes about him.
Yeah, that's what Vin likes about him. And he's also staying in Miami with a type of the guy who knows everyone, super charismatic. The character's name is Tej. And he is played by Ludacris.
He is.
He owns a garage. Yeah. He hosts and MCs races. He's helpful for literally anything. Mm-hmm. Brian, meanwhile, though, he's been having a decent time with Tej, but he ends up getting caught by his former boss, who, instead of punishing him, recruits him into helping them catch a drug lord in exchange for clearing his name.
Right. Which is, again, the LAPD exerting influence on
the Miami
precinct.
To be fair, his boss is apparently an FBI agent,
and also they're the FBI.
Yeah,
hell
it's a whole thing.
So they do also. They're like, well, and we'll let you choose a partner to work with to go undercover for this, and he chooses his childhood friend Roman Pierce, who has been on house arrest for undisclosed something, but says that it was Brian's fault. He is going to be also a recurring character alongside Tej.
So I've been playing Metaphor ReFantazio, as you know, and one of the big issues I have with that game is that people will be like, I hate this. I don't like this. But because it's an anime video game, there has to be a resolution within that scene so you can progress the plot. So like within the span of like 2 minutes, they go from like, I hate this, I disagree with this conceptually, to like, all right, I'm on your team now. Tentatively, we'll see if we'll be allies forever. These movies do this trope about
every time.
100 times of just like, they're like, I'm mad at you, and there's nothing that could change only some sort of really cool car race could change my mind about how I feel about
That is
you.
exactly what happens like every movie. Roman and Brian are like fine. They just like kind of he just was like, well, it's your fault, like, but they're still like buds. So
right. Also, so think about Tej as well, who is Ludacris, and I will call him Ludacris because I don't know any of these people's names.
That's fine.
That's ludicrous.
But think about your D&D campaign. You've got, your damage dealers, a tank. You've got all the like martial stuff covered. But you're like, how do I open doors? How do I talk to people? How do I hack the mainframe or whatever?
Tej is that guy.
Tej is just the guy who is good at everything.
Yeah, Tej can do anything
that isn't cars.
I would say
pretty good at cars.
Yeah, and he does establish in this movie when we meet him, because he's like not established that stuff yet.
Yeah.
In this movie, he's just the guy who knows everyone, so that he's helpful in that sense, and he owns like a garage. But he's just helpful for everything, and he like established that he doesn't race anymore because of an injury. So which doesn't becomes
come up
untrue later.
He's
yeah,
always driving around, but
I mean,
he is the bard. He's a jack of all trades. He's got the charisma.
He is not. He will drive a car in the later movies, but he's not like he's not
the
one of the
guy.
top drivers.
He's always got his cutting words where he's like, ha, keep up, slowpoke. It's, stuff like that.
Well, to finish with this movie, with some help from Tej, Brian and Roman take down the drug lord. They get their names cleared. They secretly take some of the drug lord's money without the FBI knowing.
It's also a little theme.
And they get the heck out of Dodge.
Yep.
A highlight that was fun, even though I overall really didn't enjoy this movie.
Pretty boring.
At one point, Brian drives and jumps his car onto a moving yacht to catch the bad guy. It hurts everyone a lot. This is one of the few times I would say it stood out in retrospect as one of the few times like people act really hurt from a crazy car stunt, which does not happen much anymore.
Right. So like again, think of being in a car as like having orcish endurance. Like you can survive any hit once as long as you're in a car.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Lizzie was very kind to do all of the like intermediate videos and stuff in like, for our sake. But that little interlude video that she described that has very important information
that's not in the movie
about how the second movie starts in this sequel didn't exist when the movie came out. So all of a sudden there's this guy who's working for the cops and he told Vin to like get out of here, and they're in like LA.
Yep.
Yeah,
and then suddenly they're in Miami, and it's
the
not
beginning
good.
of the next movie, and they're in Miami, and he's wanted by the law, and he has to go see an old friend of his so that he can escape the FBI or whatever. And again, Lizzie was like, "How am I supposed to know what's going on?" And I was like, "Well, I've been a teenager in the early 2000s," and I would just be like, "Okay."
I'm sure one was like, "Okay." I will say, when I watched this on YouTube, the comments are full of, wow, I wish I knew about this earlier.
Yeah.
I am just finding this in the year 2024.
Right.
But apparently
I knew the deep lore.
It was a DVD bonus on Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah.
So
great. I love that.
I don't know. That was weird.
Yeah. I guess because Vin Diesel wasn't even in this one, so maybe it's not like him as much as the people he works with, but this is the exact same kind of shit that was happening when we were talking about the Riddick series.
Yeah. No, it is the same because Vin Diesel is a producer. He's making
love that.
Not at the beginning, but as the series goes on, he becomes.
I think
like
he's a main
EP.
orchestrator of these movies eventually.
And it absolutely is him being like, we got to keep this. The people love it, and we need to keep sharing it.
Unfortunately, at one point, he hands it over to The Rock which is when they go downhill a little bit, which is too bad.
Yeah, we'll
but
talk
anyway,
about those. But yeah.
the last thing, like I said, I got to end Too Fast, Too Furious on is everyone on good terms with the law? Brian and Roman now are.
Woo!
Our friends from the
It's
first
good
movie, the rest
now.
of them are not, because that's been unresolved.
Yep.
But are you ready for the third movie, which is The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift?
This is the
Ooh.
best bad one.
It is the best of the worst ones. I also
Okay.
want to say, I bet Ethan, you really enjoyed getting to know a little bit about Brian and now our new friends Roman and Tej.
I
And
think
you're
you're
really
right.
curious about what are they going to do to meet back up with Dom, right?
Yep.
None of those characters are in this movie.
Love that.
This is
not
a
a single one.
completely, totally different cast, totally different story, unrelated to everything else that's been happening.
And you have to imagine they were like, we cannot guarantee that these people are going to come back for a movie every single time. We need to start making like an anthology of like anything with like cars in the car universe.
And they changed their minds later because this is the only
but yeah,
movie
after
like
this
this.
movie, they're like, no, it's got to have Vin Diesel. It's got to have cars go fast. It's got to like there's essentials that happen. But up until now, I think they were like, oh man, we're running out of gas. We're gonna have to hit the NOS and put a bunch of random Japanese guys in this movie and hope that people love it.
So-
and you know what?
And people
They
really did like
yeah,
it.
they loved it.
They did it just the right time.
This
They
is
did it just
this
the right
is
time.
like I said, I personally feel I feel like this is like a 6 out of 10 for me movie because I did think it was better than the first two, but overall
Is that
it's-
on the F and F scale? Or is
Okay.
that on all movies?
this is
scale?
6 out of 10 fast cars.
Okay.
I also want to say, and Ethan, this will make sense more as we go on. This movie chronologically takes place between the 6th and the 7th movie.
Another reason that this
Fuck
movie is
yeah.
entirely.
But this is the third movie in the franchise.
Right, yeah. All right. Okay.
All right.
I'm
So
I'm gonna go off on this movie using more RPG terms, but I'll wait until Lizzie describes it.
I was gonna say
Okay, hell yeah.
let's go through this one really fast.
Yeah.
Because like I said,
and furiously.
and furiously, exactly. So we meet a troubled high schooler named Sean. He's just a cocky country boy. He can't resist cars or standing up to bullies. Sound familiar? So similar to other characters.
I don't
He-
know about the second part. We don't
he
know that much.
tends to destroy the cars he races.
Damn.
And he's done it again one last time. Did it illegal street race, got in a lot of trouble. He is given one last saving grace by his wealthy family to go to Japan to live with his father, who is stationed there with the Navy.
So
I don't know how that works, but that is how he gets out of further punishment.
Is he a simple country boy, or is he like a well-connected nepo kid? Is his
Well,
dad?
It's
is
like
his
he
dad in
is
the
like he's got a
military?
country accent. But like his family seems to be well off, but like they move around all the time.
Sure,
And
whatever.
he's a little bit of an outsider.
Do you
Is-
guys?
is-
Yeah, go
But guess what he does when he goes to Japan?
ahead.
That's right,
I'm gonna
he gets
guess
in.
Yeah, he races cars.
He gets
Wow.
into illegal street racing in Tokyo.
Do you
It would be
guys-
insane if
there-
you said something else.
they were like, we're gonna send you to the one place where there aren't any illegal street races, Tokyo, Japan, and then it's like, wow.
It's so funny. They like specifically at one point drive past police like speeding, and Sean is like, "But we passed the police. Better hide." And he's like, "The police don't even bother to stop us here because they know their cars are not fast enough." And I was like, "Oh,
They
okay."
lack the fury.
They lack the
They
speed.
they lack the fast and the fury.
It's you would think to yourself, but Japan is such a like dense country. They don't have any like open quarter miles worth of street, like any
need to be
straight
right.
runways to street race down. How could they possibly go so fast in a country that's so like dense and curvy? Like there would almost have to be some sort of amazing car technique that only a master could perfect, that could like make this possible.
That's right, honey, because in the illegal street racing in Tokyo scene. They race inside underground parking garages with spiral ramps where it is required to know how to Tokyo drift.
Oh my God! Initial D, Ethan. We made it.
Whoa!
So, Sean, being a cocky boy who wants to stand up to bullies, gets up getting into it with DK, who's kind of the king of the Tokyo drift. A guy, not the Mario character.
Arguably a better movie.
He gets into it, he's get challenged to a race, and just gets absolutely fucked up from that.
Because he doesn't know how to.
He doesn't know how to drift.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say the one thing you told me about him is that he's known for crashing cars.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
And
we
he
now have a
does.
far more difficult technique.
Speaking of, like, I don't know about you guys, but when I got my first car, A, it was a piece of shit. But B, my parents were like, if anything happens to this car, it's over. No more cars for you.
I was the same. Yeah.
So, like, the idea of, like, imagining me pulling up to Tokyo in my 1993 Buick LeSabre and being like, oh, all right, you sons of a bitches, take a load of this fine piece of American engineering.
But he brought the car.
No, he didn't.
The brakes go out halfway.
Specifically, Sean needed to borrow a car to do that, which he then broke, which was borrowed from a man who is going to show up some more, whose name is Han. He is retired from racing, so he says, but he's a huge wealth of knowledge, and he does lend Sean this car to race DK, which he wrecks, and then Han ends up being like, all right, you're gonna work for me a little bit so I can get a new car.
Yeah.
But also, I don't really like DK, so I will teach you how to drift so you can
Tokyo
beat him.
drift, yeah.
Because the other thing is, DK is also is very, very cocky. He acts big and tough because his uncle is in the Yakuza. So
okay, but that's a trait that's bad in this character.
Yes.
Right. I know sometimes in
he's
Japanese media, like, being tied into the Yakuza means it's cool, but in this case, it's bad.
It's bad.
Okay.
Because this is an American movie about Japan, not a Japanese movie with Americans in it.
Well,
Okay.
all that being said, Sean gets help from Han, who teaches him the Tokyo Drift. And at the end, he is able to take down DK and earn the love of a girl that he was interested in. And wait,
Tales all this time.
who's this? At the very end, as
Literally the end credits
Sean
of the
is the
movie.
new Drift King. Someone asks him to race. It's dumb.
He shows up
Whoa!
in the end credits.
It's like right at the very end.
It's a literal Marvel's
just a
Adventure
cameo.
scene where
Yeah.
he's like, you're pretty good at drifting.
Yeah.
How about you drift these nuts? And
I
then
will
he's like,
also
Dom is
say-
like, oh my God.
I will also say, unfortunately, Han, the noble mentor of Sean, he before the end he dies in a fiery crash while he was helping Sean escape some Yakuza.
Right.
So
That'll happen.
This is a very important. This is a very important step in the hero's journey because you need to have a mentor,
yes,
and then the mentor needs to go away so that you can prove yourself
so you
on
can
your
prove
own.
yourself.
So
yeah.
the moment that Han dies, it's very important that he dies.
Let's put a pin in that and come back to it, okay?
I agree.
Okay.
There's not really a car stunt to highlight in particular in this movie except the drifting.
How about
Drift.
Tokyo drifting?
The
Drift.
drifting is very fun. This movie has the best music by far, according to my taste, but
Sure.
that's what I think.
And
Also,
by the way, all the music so far, because the first 5 movies, I think, it's all kind of like garbage rock. Like,
hell yeah.
like butt rock.
there's a
and
lot
shit.
of Pitbull at one point,
There's
and
a good
I
amount of
do
Pitbull.
kind of like Pitbull, but I still think it's the most on theme at least too in Tokyo Drift. But also, as we did with the others, is everyone on good terms with the law? Yes, I guess.
The law seems to not care about what they're doing. They
Also-
seem to be
that.
okay with it.
Now that I've got my more serious headphones on,
Yeah.
let's get into
And
more seriousness.
We are going to do the more serious movies as well. Because these first 3 movies, I think we both kind of came to the conclusion that they are a little irrelevant.
In the long run, the yes.
And also just not as lore heavy. Not as important.
They hadn't
to
found
the
their
series.
stride yet. I will pinpoint when they do.
Yes.
So
Okay.
that being said, before also we get into the fourth film, there is another short film.
Of course.
That's called Los Bandoleros. It takes place between movies 1 and 4. Dom is on the run from the first movie, and he went to the Dominican Republic, as one does, and he's working on cars. Big surprise.
Because
He's
that's where
been
he's
there-
from, maybe?
Maybe, I don't know. He's been there for 5 years since the first movie.
Okay.
And guess who shows up? It's Han from the last movie.
Okay.
Because this takes place chronologically. The third movie is chronologically not till between 6 and 7,
Right.
as
yeah.
I remind you. Because in the end of the third movie, we established that Dom came to Tokyo and he said he was a friend of Han, and Han was family.
And Han died in the third movie.
And Han died. But-
and people who watched the third movie liked Han. And so the writers were like, we had to
write
make
him back
a
in.
prequel
Yeah.
of the third movie because they
So
like
we can
Han.
have more Han.
we
It's
can
so
put
important.
more Han in it.
It's
Well,
you
so
know, it's
we're-
really it's so
yeah.
important.
We kind of establish how they know each other. Han just kind of knows Dom from the racing scene in Mexico, is basically kind of the throw out.
Sure.
But he-
yeah.
It's crazy.
He visits Dom, and there's like kind of a lot of stuff that happens in this 20-minute film, and I'm just going to summarize it with that, like, Dom and Han end up helping another friend, Rico, rescue a friend, Tego, from jail. And then at the end, Letty, Dom's previous girlfriend, meets up with them all to rekindle her romance with Dom. And this is really all to just set us up for the fourth movie.
Hmm.
So let's
all of
like
the
move on,
shorts
because that's all
exist-
there is to say about it.
All the shorts
Right,
exist
yeah.
because like you start a new movie and you're like, what the fuck is
Yes,
going on here?
this one was also literally just to like catch us up, kind of.
And like
Yeah.
because the movies were made just being like it's a what's the thing with the like different characters that the it's commedia dell'arte, like the characters don't matter, they just like come in and out and like do stuff, but you like recognize them. You're like, that one's Dom, that one's Paul Walker, that one's Han.
Yep.
Like and for a while they were just like mixing and matching, and they were just like,
yeah.
you're just supposed to know these guys are in the universe. They're car guys. That's all you need to know.
Yeah. So,
So yeah, I mean this is
oh, I can't hear you.
just like this from what you guys are describing to me so far. This is like one of 10 examples of people trying to do the Marvel Cinematic Universe before the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I mean,
It's just-
in fairness, nobody knew that was gonna work. You know, they were trying for a long time.
Yeah. It's like, I want all of the fanboys to go like, oh shit, look, it's Dom right at the end of the movie in the credits.
Okay, let's talk about Fast and Furious. That's the name of the fourth movie.
Okay.
It's not, because remember the first movie was The Fast
The
and
Fast.
the Furious. This is
Yeah.
Fast and Furious.
So
Right, we're-
and in a way, this is the first Fast and Furious.
I
movie.
also was gonna say that. That's
Yeah.
crazy. I think this
Oh,
this
we
launches-
watched this mostly together, honey.
this launches it into what is really the Fast and the Furious movies.
Not the Fast and the
Okay.
Furious though. It's Fast and Furious.
So I'm basically as ignorant now as I
Yep.
was like half an hour ago. All
Yeah,
right,
no,
love
no,
it.
some
That's
stuff comes
irrelevant.
back.
What we were talking about before.
So, Dom and Letty and Han and their friends Rico and Tego, they have gone back into hijacking things. They're hijacking fuel tankers in the Dominican Republic until Dom decides
Sure.
we can't do this anymore because the police have gotten too close on our trail. So they all split up. In their time split up, Dom like goes back to LA, which is crazy because he was wanted there too. And then his sister Mia calls and says, Dom, Letty was murdered.
Oh no.
Oh no. Meanwhile, do you remember Brian? He's now an FBI agent. He is tracking down drug lords again, as he does.
Sure.
And through some intersecting leads, because Dom is now hunting the killer of Letty to avenge his beautiful girlfriend, Brian hunting the drug lord, their paths cross. These things are intertwined. And I mean, these two are drawn together like magnets. So
right, yeah, it's just the kind of the energies of the universe.
And they end up working together to take down the drug lord and also avenge Letty's death because, as we find out, which caused a little bit of tension, she was killed while working undercover with Brian, driving for the drug lord that Brian is trying to catch.
God, I love when a bunch of shit happens off screen.
Yep. Well, I mean, like, so that's why we find out, like, why she was killed. That the drug lord apparently ended up always having, like, his drivers killed because they knew too much, I guess.
Sure.
You think the drivers would be like, don't drive for that guy. Kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably don't do that.
A lot of stuff happens, and, like, they try to set a trap for the drug lord. It fails, and this ends with Brian being taken off active duty for his blunder. And also Dom gets caught by the police and he says, like, I'm tired of running. So Brian lost his job and Dom's caught by the police. At the end of the movie, Dom is arrested and he's sentenced to 25 years in prison. Brian
for streetcar driving.
Brian just like he was taken off active duty, so he didn't like technically lose his job. He just got like put to a desk position, but he just quits. And he rekindles his romance he started in movie 1 with Mia, Dom's sister.
Nice.
And that's where that movie ends. Another character I want to point out, though, that came up in this movie is a lady named Giselle. She is played by, I'm going to forget her name, but she played Wonder Woman.
The sexy deer from Zootopia?
What? No, that's Shakira. You fool.
No, it's Gazelle. That's the joke.
I see. Giselle is a right hand to the drug lord. She wants Dom so badly. She is crazy horny for him.
Yeah.
But he turns her down because he's mourning Letty.
Right. Well, and he's also like spoken for. Like,
well, his girlfriend's dead.
Yeah.
Well,
Letty died.
But I mean, he's
in the mourning period for her, so he's not interested in Giselle's come-ons. But she ends up being kind of betrayed by her inner circle in the drug lord ring, as seems to happen all the time, and it's happening
a lot.
Dom in the end.
Is that Wonder Woman?
Yes. This movie, the car stunt I will highlight is they drive through some underground tunnels beneath the U.S.-Mexico border at like the speed of sound, being chased
crazy
by bad guys.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
They're like, we need the baddest drivers because we have the secret tunnel that only the coolest drivers can drive through. We're not going to have you practice going through it. You'll just know how to go through it because you're the best drivers if you do it. And it's like a car length and a foot wide.
Yeah.
Like through the whole thing.
What movie are we in?
This is the fourth
movie.
We're still in the fourth movie. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Is everyone on good terms with the law? No. Dom obviously is in jail. Brian is like fine, but he's not in the FBI anymore.
You hate to see it.
He still was up until this point, though.
And
somehow.
That's all important for Fast 5. Which opens right at the end of the fourth movie.
This is the one that actually is like a sequel. Like
this is a direct sequel, unlike any of the others we've had so far.
Also, do you think this is kind of meta, but do you think that they were going to start to be like, the movies are going to be Fast 5, Fast 6, now they're just going to be the Fast movies? Do you think they were trying to start that, or do you think that they were just like, I don't know, let's mix it up.
I think they just thought Fast 5 sounds good.
I mean, it does.
So
Fast 5 sounds good.
Is it like Ocean's? Is it like Ocean's 11? Are there 5 of them? There's way more than that, right?
There's way more than that. So no.
Yeah, it can't be that.
Let's get into one of my top 2 movies of the franchise because I actually think this is one of the best ones. And
okay, all right.
And this is it. When the entire franchise changes, is this movie.
It's true.
Okay.
So
far you've been bounded by paltry things like reality and physics.
no longer.
That's done now.
That's gone.
It didn't sound like we were too bounded by that to begin
We
with.
were a little bit.
Again, like you had to learn how to Tokyo drift. You couldn't like
You
couldn't,
had
like,
to nos
defy
at the right
gravity.
time.
You had to nos at the right time.
Yeah.
There's like rules to be obeyed.
Yes.
Kinda.
And no longer.
Now the rules
Okay.
are different. The rules are all car themed now.
So
Okay.
we open directly at the end from the fourth movie where Dom was taken away on a prison transport bus. It is stopped completely by Mia and Brian to the rescue. They stop the bus and they get Dom out of there. And then the three of them head to Rio de Janeiro on the run yet again.
But didn't
Brian
Dom
just couldn't resist.
just say that he was tired of running?
I mean,
Yep, but I guess it's back to running
you
now.
know, I'm tired of the rat race too, Ethan, but I still go to work every Monday.
They go to Rio de Janeiro and they meet up with Vince from the first movie, who was like Dom's right hand in the first movie. Kind
You
of a
remember
big brutish
Vince.
guy. He's living there.
Sure.
And they go back to stealing cars. As they do. Because that's really they only know how to do jobs that involve cars.
Right,
Um,
yeah.
They, in the middle of all of stealing cars and such, they end up getting framed by a drug lord, crazy, whose name is Hernan Reyes. They get framed by him for killing some U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration agents who were attempting to stop them. Because of this, they have been framed for killing some U.S. agents. An extremely tough diplomatic security service agent named Luke Hobbs is set to hunt down Dom, Mia, Brian, and Vince. And Luke Hobbs is none other than The Rock, Dwayne Johnson.
I had a feeling that was that.
And he looks very scary in this movie. He has the classic evil goatee.
He does have a
He's
goatee
bald
in
and
this
has a dark evil goatee, and he's all buff.
Hell yeah.
And he's very scary and tough and mean.
movie. And he is an antagonist in the movie.
And he's an antagonist. And he always gets his man.
They are again. So drug dealers, the Dom family is they're bad.
Uh-huh.
But the cops chasing the drug dealers, the Dom family is also bad.
Right.
But then they're
They're going to get them in trouble.
But then they're but sometimes if the cops are helping us do what we want to do, they're good.
You know what, though? The cops are bad in this movie. They're all corrupt.
There's a
They're
bunch
in
of
the
dirty
pocket
cops.
of Hernan Reyes in this movie. In Rio
Yeah,
de
sure.
Janeiro.
But
So-
that's just how the cops
So
work.
they are bad.
But these are the Rio de Janeiro
So
cops.
therefore, you should not feel bad for when they kill a lot of them.
Yeah.
Later.
they will pull their punches when it comes to killing American cops, but these are Brazilian cops, and they're
Oh, yeah.
these guys are all dirty. They say I remember the one scene where they're killing.
CJ, you can't say that.
They're killing scores of cops, and they're and as an audience member, you're oh my god, these guys kind of seem like they're evil. But then they say these are all dirty cops. One of the characters just says these are all the dirty cops, and then you're supposed to be oh, okay, I guess
okay.
it's fine.
I will
Cool.
say that so there's Luke Hobbs or Hobbs, and he's chasing after them. He has a Brazilian partner whose name is Elena, partner as in work partner.
Sure.
And she ends up kind of having some infatuation with Dom and is the first to believe they are all
Yeah.
innocent of
Who
this.
doesn't?
Wait, she's Brazilian?
I think so.
She's super white.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
she's blonde.
Whatever.
So they're on the run, and Dom decides, you know what?
I'm tired of
Let's
running.
teach Reyes a lesson. They have gotten some insider info about how much money he has in and where it is in a safe. It's $100 million in cash. and they say, let's steal it and start a new life with it if we're already on the run from the law. And
Okay.
he gets the team: Han, Roman, Tej, Giselle, Tego, and Rico, on top of Brian and Mia. Couple things I want to note about this new assembled team. Remember, Tego and Rico are like, they were introduced in the 20-minute short film.
Right.
And Mia in this movie, and this is kind of like the crux of why Dom decides, because this is all about the family and keeping them safe, and decides to steal the money, is Mia reveals she is pregnant with Brian's child.
That's right. Brian.
A little irresponsible is what I thought, but whatever.
In what way? Listen, they go fast. They don't use contraceptives, probably.
No, clearly.
Listen, if you just hit it at the perfect time, not too soon, but not too late.
I forgot also, Vince has obviously been helping them. Giselle and Han are having a little romance on the side as well. I wrote down that I meant to describe Tego and Rico are this franchise's Bert and Ernie, because they're only ever together and they're always like kind of like arguing.
That sounds
but
great.
in a friendly way.
Yeah, they're the like comic relief.
Well, anyway, they do successfully heist the 100 mil, and
Nice.
they kill Reyes. And
okay.
And in the middle of all of this, they did have a moment where they like saved Hobbs's ass at one point, which in the end they're having a standoff between him and like the safe that's full of money. And Hobbs is like, you know what? I'll give you a running start to escape. And they're like, nice. And they leave. But little did Hobbs know, they took all the money.
Okay, yeah. So it's important to know this scene. They just
I was going to get there.
Yeah, they just heisted this safe with money in it. And then they're at the end of their car chase, and there's this comically sized big safe.
My favorite car chase in the entire series.
So there's this huge big safe that they have been like towing. And then Hobbs stops them, and they're like, all right, I'm going to take this safe of money because this is America's money now or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Obviously.
I don't know why he has ownership over it. But he's like, I'm going to take this drug lord's money, and I respect you now. So I'm going to let you guys get a head start and run away. And I'm going to take this money back to the American government. And they're like, okay. And then they like run away. And Hobbs is like, all right, I gave them their head start. Time to open the comically big safe to reveal the money within. And he opens it. And of course, empty safe. And then he has a flashback, my favorite kind of flashback, the kind of flashback where he flashes back to information he could not have possibly known.
Uh-huh.
He flashes back to the car chase where they're towing this big-ass cartoon safe. And they're like, you've got 10 seconds. And they're like, okay. And what they meant by that is they went underneath a bridge, because there's a helicopter like watching them that Hobbs is like seeing them all from. They went under a bridge where they
in the span of 10 seconds.
They launched this safe up into like a garbage truck that has like, it's like hollow on the inside so that they can store a big garbage safe. And then they like reveal another big truck that had a replica of the safe. And then they attach to that instead under the bridge. 10-second window, which is a crazy long time. You could go a quarter mile in that amount of time. And then they go back to doing their car chase, and they're like, for the last half of the car chase, it was an empty safe. Oh no, they pulled the old switcheroo on us, and now they have $100 million in American money.
Yep. I mean, so this is
and Hobbs let him go because he was like, all right, I respect you now.
Well, he was like,
I'm not going to check this safe
He
first.
said, I'm giving you a running start.
Yeah.
This is the highlight, the car stunt highlight, is they are pulling with like a cord, I don't know, a wire.
Yeah.
Attached to two different cars, which Brian and Dom are driving.
Of course.
They are pulling this giant safe behind them. Two
Ethan,
cars.
they are
And
working
they are
in
using
such-
it like a wrecking ball.
They are in such perfect bro synchronicity that, like, together, their two cars are perfectly controlling where the safe, which is attached to their cars with a chain, the safe doesn't have wheels or anything. They're just dragging it along the pavement.
I cannot
Uh-huh.
describe how much I enjoyed watching this.
It's just tumbling
It is
around.
so fun.
It's smashing into other cop cars. This is the part
They're
where it's like,
they're moving around and swinging it so it purposely will like hit other cars, and that is how they killed the drug lord.
Yeah,
he
they,
was
like-
in one of those cars.
they like swing this big safe between their two cars that they're pulling, like two horses pulling a chariot. They're like swinging it into the bad guys' cars, like flipping them off of a bridge into the water. And then that's when they're like, oh man, every dirty cop must be chasing us right now. And I was like,
they had to point it out.
Maybe some regular cops might be chasing you too. You guys are causing a lot of damage. And then they like, and then of course there's the one scene where Dom's like, Brian, you gotta get out of here. It turns out I didn't need a second car pulling the safe because now I'm gonna pull the safe by myself. Even though the whole scene was predicated on we needed two cars to pull the safe. But my car, because I'm so powerful and because my car's so powerful and because we believe in the American dream, we can pull this safe by ourselves, at least for a little while.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I give this movie 9 out of 10 fast cars. I liked this one a lot.
Yeah, Lizzie really
It's one of the top. It's in my top 2 of the entire series.
She likes the wrecking ball scene.
And also, is everyone on good terms with the law? No, definitely not.
Not this time. because
No one
they-
is. However, now they got a lot of money.
Yeah, they screwed the American government out of $100 million.
Which wasn't really theirs, but you know.
I mean, it was American money, I guess.
It was in American dollars, yeah.
So I
whatever.
don't know what the rules on that are.
All right, well let's go to Fast and Furious 6. It does not have a fun name. It's just Fast and Furious 6.
They gave up on the
Yeah,
whole
that's
Fast
not
5
very
thing,
fun.
and they're
Yeah.
like, you know what? People got confused. Are they furious in this one?
Are they both? So, this one, thanks to the last movie, our crew has basically like spread out around the world to live peacefully with their loads of money.
Again, like literally like $20 million per guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
and
good.
they've all like specifically gone to countries where you have what's it called?
Non-extradition treaties.
Yes, so they can like be there and not worry about getting
The
arrested.
American government won't come and take them back to America.
Yes. So
Also, this is like $10 million in like 2010 money, so it could like buy you an island instead of like buy you a nice house in California.
Right.
So Brian and Mia have their baby now. They have a son named Jack, little baby.
Who's Dom's nephew.
Dom's nephew.
Right. Yep.
Further, like the
That's how
family,
family
the
works.
family is established.
Right.
And Dom, meanwhile, is shacking up with Elena, who quit the force.
His Hobbs partner. Remember?
Yeah, Hobbs' partner.
Mm-hmm.
Because Mia's dead.
No,
Or
Letty's dead.
Letty's dead.
Sorry,
I literally could not tell any of the women characters.
they look
apart.
very different. It's crazy.
They're like all ethnically ambiguous, like skinny, like slick back haired women.
That's just a look of the movie. So, however,
Yeah, these movies, Ethan, in case you were wondering, very greasy. Everyone is exceptionally shiny throughout all the movies.
and Dom is having a nice time. However, who tracks him down but Hobbs?
Mhm.
And he's not there to do anything except ask him for help? Question mark.
What? Are
Oh.
they
Um,
not mortal enemies?
Hobbs is here to ask for help in capturing tricky criminal Owen Shaw. Why has he sought out Dom for this, though, you may ask? Because he hands Dom a photo of one of Shaw's accomplices, which is a picture of Letty.
Letty.
What?
She's dead, though.
But she's dead, you say. Well, no, she's alive and working with Owen Shaw, a notorious British criminal.
Yeah.
And
Um,
how did that happen?
We'll see.
Also, Hobbs comes to them non-extradition, whatever
Mhm.
island,
Yep, yeah.
island in the middle of nowhere. He's like, you and your friends stole $100 million from the American government. We don't care about that. You're so good at driving cars. Only you can get this car driving bad guy. And the American government knows that. And we are willing to offer you amnesty for stealing all that money from us in return. And you can find your girlfriend again, who is dead, but not anymore. I know you're having sex with this beautiful blonde white woman.
I don't know how Hobbs knew that, because Letty was not in the last 2 movies.
Right, she was supposed to be dead, but they know they have information that
they have a lot.
They know. They know.
And also, Hobbs shows up to see his ex-partner fucking Vin Diesel, and he's just like, "Oh, hey,
whatever.
Whatever."
Yeah, whatever.
Because again,
he wasn't with her.
The women in these movies are invisible. Like, it's literally just men talking to each other, sometimes over the women, but never to them.
Well, yeah, so as CJ said, the family is all recruited in order to work in exchange for pardons to help stop Owen Shaw. He is a ruthless former British Special Services operative who is like working with a electromagnetic pulse weapon called Nightshade, and he has taken this weapon and is planning to sell it to the highest bidder.
It's very similar to the plot of Ocean's 11 at this point.
And Owen has a team of his own, which at one point was like a big like click moment for CJ and I, that Roman and the team are looking at pictures of Owen's crew of amazing Fast and Furious drivers, and he says, "They're like our evil twins."
Dude, it is.
And we were like, oh my god, this is the D&D plot where they have to fight evil versions of themselves.
The nega versions of themselves.
Okay.
It's
all right.
They're literally all like bizarro opposites.
Yes.
Like, the silly one is like super deadly serious. The leader is like family. Family doesn't mean
he literally
anything.
says like, I need to work with people who do the job, and that's it. I don't give a shit if they live or die.
Yeah. And like, I thought that the series was going to be more about family, because that's what everyone always talks about it. It's not really until like the 5th one where they really start to establish the whole like, we're a family and the family matters. Like previously it was just about like cars and stuff, but now we're getting into the part where it's like the bonds of family it's
just like a sports
to
anime.
Cars allow you to do anything.
It's crazy how much this is like every sport anime. We find out that Letty, she's working with Owen Shaw.
But why? Isn't she part of the family?
She has amnesia.
She's got amnesia, Ethan. She can't remember who she is. So she's working against the family, even though she's supposed to be part of the family.
Survived the fiery car crash that was intended to kill her, but got amnesia from it. Owen Shaw took her in, and that's why she's working with him.
Every time that we're doing a series and we suddenly bring up amnesia, it's like simultaneously the first time that I have amnesia about amnesia. I'm like, of course, the obvious, like...
you always forget that a person can just get knocked on the head and get amnesia, and then they're working against their core values.
Well, the team is saddened by this, but they are working very hard to fight Owen Shaw and his crew, including Letty.
What does Dom's new lady feel about this?
I'll get to
situation?
that. I'll get to that at the end.
Yeah,
don't worry.
worry. It's
okay.
Elena is at the beginning of the movie. Essentially, is like, Dom, you need to go help and figure this out, and we don't see her for the rest of the movie until the end. So,
okay.
However, Dom keeps trying to connect with Letty, but she's like, "What the fuck? Where are you? Get away!" But he does end up he proves his past love is true because he has proof that they secretly got married right before the 4th movie, before she died.
Okay.
Off screen
sure.
again.
He saves her from near death in a crazy this happens more than once in these movies, that Dom someone is falling from a great height and Dom like catches them with his car and they're fine.
So he ran. So imagine you're falling off of the tallest building in
As you do, yep.
Wisconsin, which is the capital, and I like ramp off. I don't know the curb, but I'm going really fast, so I go really high. I ramp off the curb and I come up and I catch you on the hood of the car. You just smash into the hood of the car, but because I'm so good at driving cars, and because I have done something with a car, it preserves life. So you smash on the hood of my car, I grab you with my car, and then I gently put you back down onto terra firma, and you're A-okay because you landed on a car, and that breaks fall damage.
Yeah, yep. I'm sorry. I just looked at how many of these movies there are.
We're on the sixth one.
We're going pretty quick.
We're doing great. We're
great.
Going so fast.
We're fast and furious.
Dude, that's a good sequel name.
So,
really fast, pretty furious.
Owen, the crew manages to stop Owen, as they do, and they prevent his escape on like this huge military airplane, which is my car stunt highlight, is they drive a car out of a giant military plane while it's like in the air. Not like really high up, but it had been like taken off.
Right, yeah.
That's a cool, fun scene. However, in that scene, our friend Giselle, who we've really not gotten to know very well, dies in an explosion when a car crashes.
Bummer.
Han is very sad about that because he was romancing her. They were together. He decides to go to Tokyo.
Yeah. So, and again, us as the audience, there are moments where we're like, oh no, is Han's in mortal danger? I wonder if he's going to die. And the answer is like, no. Well,
we know he dies in
later.
the third movie. Yeah.
So, no. And then we were like, is Han's love interest going to die? And we're like, probably, because she doesn't show up in the other movie he's in. So we're like, we know that needs to get cleaned up before that happens. And Liz, and on a more personal note, Lizzie and I were also like, because Gazelle is Gal Gadot, and we're like, well, I hope she dies. She's a Zionist, so we were like, whatever.
She doesn't need to be in these anymore.
Yeah. So that's how we were feeling at the exact moment of her
she also
fiery explosion.
Her character was so unimportant to anything, and she didn't really
literally
do anything,
was like,
so
she was like so horny for Dom. She's like, I want to fuck Dom, and Dom's like, no, I don't want to fuck you. And then she's like, all right, I'll fuck this Asian man that is friends with you. And we're like, okay, whatever.
She really, I truly cannot stress enough that like every character is very helpful, but she really did not do anything.
She didn't do anything.
The crew obviously managed to stop Shaw, and Letty rejoins their team. However, she has not gotten her memories back. She just is like, I believe you guys, so I'm gonna help you.
Dom's like, this scar, I know how you got this scar.
Yeah.
You were showing off to a bunch of kids in high school. This scar, I know how you got this scar. And then she's like, how do I know that you're not trying to trick me? And let me ask you, Ethan.
We're married.
Let's say you have amnesia, and you know you have amnesia. And and a person comes up to you and is like, I know you. These are some shared memories that we have. And like, I know that there's a scar on your back that I can't see right now, but I know it's there because I know who you are. And would your first instinct be, you don't know who I am, stranger? Or would it be, I do have amnesia. I know I have amnesia. Maybe this is a person who knowed me before I had amnesia, because she's just like, no, it's impossible for you to have known me because I don't remember anything.
I just like the idea of experiencing movie amnesia is just like such a particular form of hell. Amnesia.
If you got TV amnesia, I would be like, Ethan, don't you remember? I would show you the podcast. It's you, Ethan. It's us. You'd be like, I don't think I would ever do that.
I'm now more convinced. Like, for my own well-being, I need to not remember ever.
Like we've done before. Is everyone on good terms with the law? Yes,
yes,
they all got
time.
Pardoned for capturing Owen Shaw.
That's right. They took down notorious big bad guy Shaw.
Now,
And we'll never have to deal with a Shaw again.
post-credit scene of Fast and Furious 6, we show when Han got in a crash and died in Tokyo Drift. Because he says at the end of the movie, I'm going to go to Tokyo. Because he's sad. His girlfriend died.
Mhm.
Yeah.
However, we see after that crash, his car's like upside down. He is clearly alive.
Mhm.
However, a man walks up and shoots him in the head. And he turns around. And that man is Jason Statham,
That's right, Ethan. And
the actor.
the actor Jason Statham. He's there. And this is we reveal another important
So,
rule, Ethan. And
psych,
this is,
you think he died in a car crash? He was actually shot.
there's the important rule is this, and it is important to know through the whole series. You cannot, in the Fast and Furious, die in a car crash, because a car crash
It's
invariably
always survivable.
a car crash involves a car. And you can't die when you're in a car. That just can't happen. Unless you're a bad guy. So he didn't die. Han didn't die in a car crash. Han died because Jason
He was murdered.
Statham killed him after a car crash.
That's so like painfully lazy.
because in this one, Vin Diesel's in a big
They
car
had
crash.
to- they had
Literally,
to-
there's a fireball. Like they're doing this plane chase, and Vin Diesel like explodes the plane with his car or something, and they all look and they're like, "Oh no, Vin, he's dead." But then you're like, "Wait a second, that was technically a car crash." And
It's fine.
and indeed, he just walks out of the car. He's like, "Okay, my car protected me." You can't die in a car crash.
Yeah.
All right, what's the name of our next fucking movie?
Furious
Jason Statham
7.
is gonna furious.
We've gone back to the Fast Five setup title. It's now
7.
Furious 7.
Okay.
Is this one actually? Isn't this one actually with the 7 though? Isn't this one like the one where they're like, these are the Furious 7?
Maybe I actually have to count.
I think they're on 7
Now,
people now.
Also, as I preface with the 5th one, this is the other one I think is the
One of the
best
best
of the
ones.
series.
The prime
Okay.
the prime number
5 and 7 are very good.
the prime numbered Fast and Furiouses are some of the best ones.
So
Stupid.
everyone has gone back to living a normal life now that they are like
Right, back
pardoned,
to being millionaires.
and I think they're
yep.
still rich.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
And they're like, and like Ludacris is still one of the characters, and like he's like a genius. Like he knows how to do everything.
Yeah.
It's-
I remember you saying
It's
that.
kind of implied that he's kind of making their money work for them, and they're like getting even
Sure.
more money because once you're rich, it's easy to stay rich. So like, imagine they just now have infinite resources.
Yeah, I hate this, but
Just the not infinite resources, but as much resources as money can buy. They're only
Right.
limited.
Yeah,
by,
yeah.
They're only limited by what money can't buy right now.
however, the man Jason Statham at the end of the movie,
Mhm.
he is Deckard Shaw, brother to Owen Shaw, and he's really mad that they hurt his little baby brother.
They killed his
Owen
baby
is
brother.
not dead. He is grievously injured in a hospital.
Because that was also a car thing.
Car crash. Yeah,
and
that's
he
car,
can't die in a
yeah.
car crash. And this explained a lot for me because I was very familiar with the movie Hobbs and Shaw, which famously stars Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Jason Statham together. And when they introduced Shaw as some other skinny white man from Britain, I was
Right,
like,
yeah.
this is not the right Shaw. But then it's all revealed it's his brother who would also be a Shaw.
Yep.
So
That sucks.
Hobbs,
Okay.
Hobbs in a different Shaw.
I like Jason Statham.
Yeah, though I will say Jason Statham in these movies, he shines like
He's-
a, like
he's
a,
a-
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a brilliant
He
diamond.
plays about one character all the time, and I think it's fun.
His one character it's like in D&D you have the one person who only wants to play the same character over and over, the human fighter guy,
It's Deckard.
and he just like
It's
shows up in
Jason.
this movie, and it's almost kind of comforting. You're like, that character would make
Jason.
sense in this universe, the way he acts.
So Deckard Shaw, he's a scary former UK Special Forces soldier and British Secret Intelligence Services agent. he can do anything and kill anyone and be anywhere.
Yeah, he was
And-
he's not like MI5, he's like MI7 or something.
Is
like that.
MI6 specifically.
MI6? Okay.
He specifically wants all of them dead because that's just like his thing.
He's on a vengeance thing
he
for
always-
his brother.
He always stuck
For his
up
brother,
for
who
little
is not
brother.
dead.
His brother hates family,
But Deckard doesn't.
but
you know?
Deckard loves family. Deckard's like, family means everything.
It's so funny
Okay.
because we're gonna meet more of the Shaws later. They have
It's
their own
crazy.
family.
The
thing
Shaws
going on.
are a family.
I know. Anyway, not relevant right now.
Not yet.
So Deckard has broken into Hobbs's office to steal information on. I'm just dubbing them the Fast Crew.
Mhm.
And
Dom's family.
but
is
Hobbs
also-
catches him in the act, and they have like a crazy, extremely building damaging fight, as you can imagine.
It's awesome.
The fast but tactical Jason Statham versus the large and imposing
Versus
Rock.
the furious Rock.
However, Hobbs is like very, very hurt from this fight and becomes hospital bound and cannot help his friends in this movie.
Yeah.
He is in the hospital the rest of this movie.
And this is the part of the series where we start to see that the Rock is busy sometimes. Like probably starring in like Moana and other
Yes,
shit.
he's
Right,
busy.
yeah.
Like being a real actor, so he does not show up as consistently as a bunch of the other
They-
actors who are maybe less employable.
They conveniently bring up something to like that I know for a fact was like a reason to give him an out, which is that he has a daughter. He's a
does have a
single dad. So that will come up later. So Hobbs is injured. Deckard has all the info he needs on the Fast Crew, and he makes it known pretty quickly. He like sends a bomb to the doorstep of Dom's house, and it nearly kills him and Mia and Brian.
Not Brian.
So,
He's my
however, before they can really try to do much about Deckard, they do like figure out like he's hunting them because he like shows up at like a combined funeral for Han and Giselle, which is funny because Han was all the way in Tokyo and Giselle died like presumably a while ago.
Yeah.
But they do kind of like a combined memorial for them. They get intercepted. In like, first of all, Jason Statham and Vin Diesel have a crazy dick measuring contest as their first standoff because, which is, they both are in a car and they play chicken with each other, just driving directly at each other super fast. And they're not scaredy cats, so they just end up
They just crash into
crashing
each
right into each other.
Yeah.
other.
And they both just like get
they're-
out
they're
of the
fine,
car
'cause the car
and they are
crashed.
fine. They literally show the both of them like get out of their cars from this crazy head-on crash and they like roll their shoulders and crack their bones and then they're like, "All right."
It is truly like in the D&D campaign where the DM is like tired at one point and they're like, fine, like that thing that you said right now, that's fine. And then for the rest of the campaign, all like the character's like, you said it was this fine this one time, so it's gotta be good forever. So it's like car crashes, no, those can't kill your characters.
This cannot.
And so, you know how I said I felt the fifth movie was a little bit of a turning point in Fast and Furious because we got the team, we pulled off a heist, all that.
Yep.
7 is another turning point because before that much else can happen with Shaw, a guy who calls himself Mr. Nobody appears. He has taken interest in the Fast Crew from their work in the 5th and the 6th movies. He makes a deal with them because he is a government agent and leader of an unknown covert ops team. His deal is they help him retrieve something called God's Eye, and he'll help them get rid of Shaw. God's Eye is a computer program capable of tracking anyone in the world using any device on a digital network.
And that is a real thing that probably exists.
I'm
for
sure
sure.
this actually exists. It's just like you can use it to hack into any camera anywhere.
So I and like I feel like these movies reflect the time period they're made in, and I feel like this has to just be a reference to that one part in that one Batman movie, right? Where he was like, "Oh, Mr. Wayne, don't go tracking every single person in the whole world. That's too dangerous." And they're like, "Fuck it,
just this one time."
yeah, right. And they're like, "Fuck it, let's put that in our movie." Like, let's. I don't. That's a thing that exists now in the
That's
universe.
a thing.
God's Eye has been created by a British super computer hacker named Ramsey. She's just a computer whiz gal.
What?
Her name's Ramsey.
Yes.
Okay.
Did they give an early on premise for why the people what are really good at driving cars would be particularly useful for this?
Because they're really good at driving cars, Ethan.
Yeah,
you answer your own question.
Again, we're in the anime part of it. The world is the world's controlled by people who are good at cars. These are the best at cars. They're the best at solving problems.
Remember when there was a lot of focus on like NOS makes your cars go fast? That doesn't come up anymore.
Yeah, we're kind of over that. I think
anymore.
because again, NOS is a real company that was selling real energy drinks, and I'm pretty sure that their like partnership with the Fast and Furious was just over, and I don't think NOS makes energy drinks anymore, and
they do. I don't know.
I don't know. Well, anyway, they just like kind of stopped being in the Fast and Furious, and it's really been kind of downplayed since.
All right, well, so anyway.
There you go.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Nobody's like, you get back God's Eye, and we'll get rid of Shaw.
Get Shaw
because
we'll
hunting
use
you.
God's Eye to find him.
Because yeah, we'll simply use it to find him. Ramsey, the creator of God's Eye, she's been captured by a Nigerian terrorist named Mose Jakande, who wants to use her to control God's Eye. So the team first has to go rescue Ramsey, which they do. Once they've got Ramsey, she reveals she's actually like already sold God's Eye to a billionaire who lives in Abu Dhabi in the United Emirates.
I feel like I wish that if we're gonna be this silly, if we're gonna go silly, we should go all the way silly. And like
they do.
Ethan, I think you were in the room.
You're in the room, Ethan.
when they were planning some of the later series. The later of the
I'm sorry. I was maybe trying to go a little too fast. I'll slow down.
You were looking at this and you're like, it's too real still. It's like it's either not fast enough, which is probably not true, or it's not furious enough, and that's probably the issue, is what you were saying.
I skipped over it because it isn't my top car stunt highlight of this movie, but when they went to rescue Ramsey, they were literally airdropped in cars onto the road where there was the cars transporting Ramsey and just started driving.
I do like that.
This is a very common theme where they need to get somewhere, so they have an airplane with cars in it,
and they're in the
cars into the place that they need to be at, and now they're there.
Yep.
It is. You would think cars don't need fast travel because cars are cars, but they do.
How else would one get a car where it needs to go without an aeroplane?
You're entirely right.
Well, so they head to Abu Dhabi with Ramsey now in tow to sneak into a party hosted by the billionaire whom Ramsey sold God's Eye to. It's like, and he's like put it in his very expensive car, which is in like the penthouse suite of this skyscraper. And it's a very famous, like fancy car. Hold on, I wrote it down.
Oh.
It's a Lycan Hypersport. If that means anything to people in the car world.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
it's cool looking.
I think the people who listen to our podcast and car people are,
you never know. So they do steal it back. And not without doing my car stunt highlight of this film, which is Dom and Brian get in the Lycan Hypersport and they drive it out of the building and these like skyscraper buildings are a set of 3. They drive it out
Okay.
of one and jump it into the one next to it.
Smash through the window.
Smash through the window.
Fly through the air.
Fly through the air. Smash into the second one.
On a floor in a different one. Drive around through it. I think the brakes are out.
Yep.
And Dom's like, well, the only way to stop this car is to do that cool trick a second time.
And then they go straight into the third one.
And then he accelerates into the third building.
It kind of rules, honestly.
Yeah, it's cool.
It rules. So they get God's Eye back, only for the terrorists Mose and Shaw, who have decided to work together because they are both against the same people. They end up getting it back. There's a huge final battle, and we have a Dom death fake out. In the Dom death fake out, Letty is like cradling him, and she's like, "I remember everything, Dom." So she has her memories back.
Or she said she
and
does.
Dom is fine. He lives.
Great.
So
she like cries on him like Pikachu and Pokemon.
Yes,
in the movie,
like
and
tears
then,
fall on his face.
Comes back to life.
So we
Like, whatever.
delivered. We got God's Eye back.
Oh, hold on.
Ramsey's
and
fine.
as he's coming back to life, he's like,
If you're listening, CJ is doing a Vin Diesel face, which is squinty smile.
which does almost look like you're dead. So it's actually kind of a subtle thing in that scene.
I said I feel a kinship to him because I also have small eyes. So anyway, so yeah, they got God's Eye delivered to Mr. Nobody. The terrorist Mose is killed. Shaw is arrested and put in a crazy prison. And
it's like
it's all good.
It's like a Magneto prison, except instead of no metal, there's just no car keys anywhere.
Cars or car parts. It is pretty similar to that, yeah.
Oh my god.
I should do that.
Let's see. Where are we? Surely we're like done with the series now, right? That's our ending point. There's no more movies.
Nope. Important notes I want to add from this movie is at some point in the middle of this movie, the 7th one, Mia reveals she is pregnant again with her and Brian's second child. And
That'll happen.
Dom at that point is like, I need you to promise that you and Brian are going to like do less of this stuff now, because now you'll have not one but 2 babies. And she's like, okay. And also, our friend Sean from Tokyo Drift made a cameo in this movie because we found out why Dom went to Tokyo. It was to find out what happened to Han because of Deckard Shaw.
Right, and just kind of like, as long as I'm here, you look pretty good at racing, kid.
Yep,
almost
that
exactly,
is basically
yes.
what happened. And also, this is a special note about this movie. Paul Walker, who plays our beloved Brian, he died during this movie, very tragically.
Ironically, in a car crash.
Not like on the set. It was completely unrelated to this movie, but he died in a car crash.
Yeah. So if you're wondering why Paul Walker's in this movie, but he's in kind of weird parts of this movie and he should be in more parts of this movie, it's because they filmed certain parts of the movie and then he died and then they put the movie together after the fact.
Apparently they used Paul Walker's brother in like some places.
Like the back of his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the end of the movie makes it clear that like Brian and Mia are gonna like happily retire now.
It's like a sweet send off.
It's very sweet. I actually
to
kind
Paul
of
Walker the man.
To be honest, I actually kind of teared up at the end of this movie because Dom like leaves without saying goodbye, and then like Brian catches up to him in his car and he's like, "You're gonna just leave without saying goodbye?" And then they like kind of race for a little bit, and then they go like off in separate directions in their 2 cars.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know, it was kind of touching.
Lizzie's completely car-pilled, and at this point she was like,
I'm car-pilled.
She was like kind of weeping because, you know, in a lot of ways death is like a person pulling off on the highway, you know, and then they're just gone. You don't see them anymore.
Yep.
So we've finished Furious 7.
Yes.
So now we've had Fast 5, Furious 7, and what is our brilliant naming convention for this next one?
I don't know if you're ready, actually. This one, the 8th movie, is called The Fate of the Furious.
They changed the name.
Do you like that?
The Fate of the Furious. So now they're not.
He dropped his shoulders.
It's basically implied they're fast, and now we're wondering what will happen to these furious people. Mostly men, but some women.
Who I forget if I had said before, but the end of the 7th movie, are they on good terms with the law? Yes, and they're like super spies now.
Mm-hmm.
So
great. Now let's get into the 8 of the Furious.
Now, this is when these movies get a little complex for me personally.
Okay.
Lizzie thinks that there's like hidden meaning that she doesn't understand.
No,
but
CJ
it's
sees my notes, and if he looks back, this has the longest description because I simply did not know how to trim it to be really short. So let's get into it. Dom and Letty, they're on their honeymoon because I guess they never got to have one. They got
she doesn't remember.
Well, they got
Doesn't
secret married when before the 4th movie, and then Letty died, quote unquote, and then she had amnesia, and then she remembered everything. So now they're on their honeymoon in Havana. A mysterious woman appears. It's Charlize Theron with a terrible haircut.
It's just actually the worst. She's got white person dreads.
Her name is Cypher. She appears and presents Dom. Yep, her name is Cypher. Because she's a cyber terrorist.
Oh, right.
Okay.
She presents Dom with something on her phone. We as the audience do not see, but it clearly compels Dom a lot. And she's like, "You will work for me, Dom." And he's like,
"All right."
He doesn't really give her an answer, and we just cut to totally different scene. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, our friend Hobbs, The Rock, he's given. This is very weird. This doesn't make a lot of sense. He's given an off-the-books mission to retrieve an EMP device in Berlin, and he will be arrested if, like, it doesn't work out, which is very weird. I think.
Mm-hmm. I like that especially. Like, the idea that if he was caught, the FBI would claim, "Oh, we didn't tell him to do that."
I think that is what they're implying because it's off the books.
We're not doing any sort of awful terrorist.
He did that on his own.
Espionage,
Yeah,
right.
he did that on his own. I think that's what's implied. It's very weird though.
The series of movies after this point will just create. It will
create weird problems. Yeah.
That don't really make sense. But as an audience, you're supposed to be like, okay, I guess if he fails, he's going to jail.
Well, that being said, Hobbs is like, well, I gotta get my best people on this with me. That's Dom and Letty and Roman and Tej and Ramsey, who's now a part of the family.
They're all part of the family.
And we have to replace Brian. Because Brian's not going to be in it anymore. Brian does not canonically die or anything. In fact, they reference him in the rest of the movies. He's just not here. He's just not here.
Yeah.
Lizzie really liked the send-off they did for Paul Walker. I did too. And then I thought it was a very weird choice that they reference him.
Yeah, I think it's a little
the
odd.
fact that he's alive and well, but he's off screen so you can't see him.
Yeah, but I think that's weird.
But he is doing great. And it's like, I get it. Like, you're kind of like, oh, he's having a good time with his family.
The audience needs a throwaway about why he's not here, I guess.
I guess
it's weird, but it's all weird.
They were like, well, we have to have a reason that Paul Walker's not here, even though like a bunch of the movies doesn't have a lot of the main
and they set up that they're like, we
"Hmm."
can't involve him in any shit like this anymore. He's got a family,
right?
Like
or
that is the reason,
and that reason will stop being.
But it stops being
later.
relevant. Yeah,
but whatever.
Anyway, so Hobbs and the crew, the fast crew, they do retrieve this device. However, when they are headed home, Dom crashes Hobbs' car, steals the device, and goes over to Cypher. Obviously, the crew is shocked and betrayed by this. And confused.
No!
And confused, because, like, why would he do that?
Oh, here's a good intermezzo. All right, Ethan. We know that all Dom cares about is family. Why would he betray his family?
Probably for his family.
Wow.
Wow.
Really makes you think.
Solved the mystery already. I was gonna build up to it, but whatever. So Hobbs is arrested, as
They said they were gonna do.
And
he failed.
They put him as in the same prison as Deckard Shaw. Remember, he was arrested.
Beautiful. Yep. Yeah. Wow.
Literally, they put him in the last movie. There's like one of those classic like concrete boxes.
Yeah, he was in there.
And they were like, "We're putting you in here. You're gonna rot forever."
Yep.
And I was like, "Why not just
kill him?
Why not just kill him at that
then
point?" And
Hobbs-
then he's in like a new prison with like other people, and he's like, "Wow, look who decided to show up."
That is what he sounds like. But then like Hobbs and Shaw together just initiate a prison riot and escape
Classic
prison
D&D
pretty
move.
easily. It seems like they would really have a great movie together if they were going to have their own.
Good chemistry.
Anyway, Mr. Nobody picks up both of them. Our friend Mr. Nobody. And
works for the
he's
DEA.
like,
Yeah, I remember what he was
Yep.
about.
He works for the deep state.
he's like, hey guys, I want both of you to help us figure out what's happening with Dom and stop Cypher because she's a crazy cyber terrorist.
She's the greater evil right
we
now.
find out, and Deckard Shaw's obviously like, why the fuck would I help you?
Yeah.
And he's compelled because it's revealed Cypher was actually puppeteering both Owen Shaw with the Nightshade electromagnetic device in movie 6 and Mose Jaconde, who was the terrorist who was trying to get God's Eye in movie 7.
It was all her.
It was all her. They were
All the
technically
greater-
working for her.
All of the evils previously, there was a shadowy figure behind the scenes controlling all
and
of
that
it.
was
And it's
Cypher,
Cypher.
Charlize Theron,
Super
their horrible
hacker.
haircut.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
she's the biggest baddie so far.
And you know what? Deckard,
So far.
he cares about his own family. So he's like, okay, yeah, I'm in to stop her. That's why I'm helping.
Unknown why the rest of them are cool.
I
with
mean,
it.
yeah, well, so then this isn't really answered, but like everyone kind of gets cool with him, even though he killed Han.
He killed Han, if you
So,
recall. Han didn't die in a car
I guess it's
crash.
a little forgive
This
and
guy
forget.
killed him.
Anyway,
I'm going to find it very difficult through the rest of the series to allow him to be in the family, given that he did such a horrible crime.
he killed a lot of people too. So, but whatever, we'll forgive and forget.
Whatever.
This.
I would like, let's have another scene where we go back and we see that actually he only shot next to Han, but then Cypher came in and she, when he left, actually killed Han.
Don't say anything.
Oh no.
I'm not going to say anything about that. So
Am I psychic?
Just keep going.
so like I said, Deckard Shaw has his own little family, including, we already know Owen, and he's kind of recovered a little bit and will appear again in this movie. But they also have a criminal mother who's played by Helen Mirren.
And she's like, "Oh, loves, you getting in trouble
It's
again?"
Queenie
Sure,
Shaw.
that's fun. Yeah,
Queenie
that's
Shaw.
fun.
And she is also kind of recruited into the mix for as long as they got Helen Mirren to be in the movie, which isn't that long.
So it's a literal crime family.
They end up trying to help. There's a cool moment. It is not my car stunt highlight, but they like the fast crew like all harpoon Dom's car,
Oh my
and they
God,
like
it is
try
really
to pull
cool.
him.
It's like because they all have their like signature cars for the most part.
Mhm.
Dom has this like hardcore like black muscle car, like American muscle
Of
car.
course.
And then like it's a scene where like all of the family are like surrounding him and they all have harpoon guns and they're like harpooned into his car.
And then they just try to like
And they're
pull
like
and quarter
they're
him.
trying to like draw and quarter him to like stop him. But his car's so powerful, he's just like ripping away from everyone else. He's like, I'm not gonna let you guys stop me like that.
And they're all trying to understand, like, Dom, why are you doing this? How could you do this? You're the family man. And so we find
And
out.
he just like breaks his bonds.
Yes, we find out Cypher has She's blackmailing him. She has in her captivity Elena, Dom's previous lover, who also secretly had a son. That's Dom's son. And she has both the baby and Elena.
So you were
Okay,
you were
prisoner.
curious how Dom's one lady would handle the return of the other lady that was his lady
Oh
previously.
yeah, I did. I forgot to say that.
Yeah.
Elena at the
she
end.
just like shows up and she's like, "Hey," and she's like, "Hey, I knew that he always loved you, but you were dead. But now that you're alive, you can have him back, and I'll leave."
That is
And
literally what happens.
And it turns out I'm pregnant right now, but that doesn't matter to
Won't
me.
come up for a couple movies.
I'm gonna let you guys have at it and not talk to him again
she was
until later.
She was crazy cool with that situation.
She was just like, okay, I get it. I knew where we stood. I was just a rebound.
Well, anyway, apparently she has Dom's son, and Cypher has them both under her as a prisoner, and it will kill them if Dom does not obey what she is asking him. So Dom is obviously very upset about this, but he is begrudgingly doing her well. And next on the list is he's sent to retrieve a nuclear football that connects to a Russian nuclear submarine in Antarctica
to launch a nuclear missile.
Cypher
that makes a lot of sense.
Cypher is just like collecting every like super powered technology to have because she's like, with these I like rule the world basically. Which she does. She would.
With this football, I can rule the world.
So, we recruit Queenie Shaw. Dom does like in a weird like he manages to get out of Cypher's sight for like a couple minutes and ends up having like time to arrange a scheme with Queenie, who's mother of Owen and Deckard, to help him.
In the 10 seconds under the bridge, I got it. Yeah,
And to help him in exchange for arranging the Shaw brothers' like freedom, essentially. I don't know why Dom would be able to arrange that, but that's the deal on the table.
I'm very rich.
I mean, like, I guess he has like the special deep state on his side, so they could pardon these UK terrorists, perhaps. I don't know.
Sure, whatever.
Whatever.
Sure. They're spies now.
Cypher does end up killing Elena after she finds out about this little.
That's convenient. Sure.
And then it's just the baby who's left. The baby who is unnamed at this point, by the way, because Elena was like, "I think you should name him Dom," and he's like, "Oh, okay, I'll think about it."
I would only think to name him after my great love,
which is Brian.
Brian.
Yes, by the way,
Brian.
the child is named Brian.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Anyway.
Little B.
Anyway, so Elena died. Deckard and Owen are the ones who end up like infiltrating. Cypher is in like a plane like the entire time, and they end up getting on her plane and having this crazy shootout on a plane. All the while, Deckard is like holding a baby carrier, and I did really like that scene just because it was very silly.
He was like, "Here, put these on, little baby," and he put this like earmuffs
I did
on
like
him, and then just
the care for the safety of the baby by putting some headphones on him.
So, well, because he's afraid. He's like, well, if something happens to this baby, Dom's gonna be really pissed off and he's gonna beat my ass. So he's like, I'm gonna take good care of this little baby. But also he likes family too.
Jason Statham is they're just all cool for some reason now.
Even though he killed Han.
Yep, even though he killed Han. So
but whatever.
Just through a lot of crazy shit, we head to Russia, where that nuclear submarine is, and this was my car stunt highlight, that they are driving across ice. They end up driving the submarine a little bit, and the submarine is like shooting heat-seeking missiles at them in their cars, and they are having kind of the wildest chase imaginable, and that was very fun to watch. So that is my car stunt highlight.
The submarine's under the water, and the water's frozen on top, and then the cars are driving on top of it, and they're like out racing the sub, and the sub's like shooting stuff from under the water, and there's like bad guys on top of the water, and they're like all running around doing whatever. And then in the middle of the car chase, the Shaw brothers like save Dom's kid, and they're like, we got him. He's safe.
We got him.
And then and then Dom's like, "Oh, you guys are fucked now." And then he like beats the guy up who was like supposed to be keeping him hostage,
course,
because he was
yeah.
like, "The only thing keeping me from killing you is the fact that you have my son." But then, once they don't have a son, he's like, "All right, now I'm going to rejoin my family." And so he goes back and they shoot a heat-seeking missile out of the car. And then he uses the exhaust from his mighty muscle car, which is shooting flames into the air. And he's like using that to direct the heat-seeking missile. And then he drives it back towards the sub. And then he like redirects the missile back into the sub, and it explodes the sub with its own missile. And it's like, I told Lizzie, I was like, "Did you have that phase in like high school where all your friends were like obsessed with heat-seeking missiles?" And she's like, no. And I was like, "Well, I did." And I think it's because of this scene. I think young men were obsessed with the idea of like heat-seeking missiles.
Well, all that being said,
it's in a lot of stupid stuff.
It was cool.
all that being said, it's pretty enjoyable movie. And they rescue Dom's son, and
Little B.
and they defeat Cypher, though she like kind of just gets away. And that's Fast and Furious, or sorry, The Fate of the Furious. My bad.
The Fate of the Furious is that they'll be doing more movies.
Are they good with the law? Yes.
Yep. They saved
Now they
America.
are the law.
They saved the world,
They
maybe.
saved the world, basically.
Yeah, that's cool.
So now we get to.
There's almost no more room to travel. They've traveled the seas.
They've really traveled the world.
They've traveled the skies in their airplane. They've like conquered Tokyo.
Are we going to space? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
I don't think that would make any sense because they fly. They
Yeah, you're right. That part, that would be a step too far, I think.
they drive cars, Ethan.
I am going to really quickly talk about The Fast and the Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw, because
Lizzie didn't like this.
I didn't like this movie, and it's really technically irrelevant to the rest of the two next Fast and Furious movies.
Oh my God.
But it's wild. It's crazy. Hobbs and Shaw, even though they like reached, it seemed to that they reached some kind of like agreement in the last movie because they were forced to work
Mutual
together.
respect. But they hate each other.
They hate each other in this one, but they're forced to work together again to locate and protect. Shaw has a little sister named Hattie, and who is
Crime
also
family.
in the special forces.
Crime family.
She was working on retrieving a programmable super virus called Snowflake, and she is protecting it from a techno-terrorist organization called Etion. Etion has a literal cybernetically enhanced super soldier named Brixton Lore, Idris Elba, who is their
Another strong,
antagonist
bald
of this
man.
movie. He's not really bald. He's got buzz cut,
I
kinda.
guess.
But Hobbs and Shaw do that. Everything is fine, and they rescue Hattie. They rescue Hattie, and Hobbs
situation.
Hobbs and Hattie have like a romantic exchange.
Hobbs is like a single dad,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
he's allowed to fuck.
So
Beautiful.
that's all
Thank
I'm going to
God.
say about that movie. I didn't really like it.
They do it. They succeed.
Now,
Yay.
If you give
based on the conventions of the names of our previous films, what do you think the 9th movie is called?
Oh, what's a pun you could do with 9?
We've done Fast 5. We've done the Furious 7. We've done a little play on words, The Fate of the Furious. What is the 9th movie, you may ask?
Ethan doesn't know. He'll never know.
It's just F9.
Cause
Because
you.
we all know.
Nice.
We all know. We don't. There's no explanation needed when
You
you
don't
say
even need
F9. You're like, it's clearly Fast and Furious
Fast and
9.
Furious 9.
So this movie is not very good. Dom and Letty are now retired, and they are raising their son, little Brian, middle of nowhere. He's like a little toddler. Except their friends Roman, Tej, and Ramsey show up, obviously with some business they've got to do, which is they just come with the news that rogue agents have taken down their friend Mr. Nobody, who in the middle of when he was taken down, he had a captured Cypher with him. They were like on a plane. Cypher was on the plane. It went down. The rogue agents, however, this is why it's extra important. Besides that, Mr. Nobody is like their boss, kind of. It was taken down by a rogue agent, including Jacob Toretto, Dom's younger brother.
Ethan,
you didn't know he had a younger brother.
Ethan,
I didn't.
What famous pro wrestler is Vin Diesel's younger brother?
Who looks a lot like Vin Diesel.
They mention it in the movie. They're like, wow, you look just like your brother. Famous pro wrestler, WWE.
We're tricking you also. They don't look alike.
Yeah, I not that I have a deep WWE knowledge, but
I think you probably know who it is.
All right, honey. I say his name and you do
the other one.
I can't do the whole thing.
No, okay. It's John Cena.
They're like, wow, you guys look so similar.
They say more than once. They have characters say like, wow, I can tell you two are related. And I'm like, they look nothing alike, but that's okay.
John Cena's white, first of all. I think they're like half brothers.
Well, anyway, Jacob Toretto, baby brother to Dom. I believe he's the middle brother. I think Mia is the baby.
He's having so much fun playing a villain too.
I think John Cena's having a fun time.
That's good.
I didn't hate to see him. I wasn't like compelled by it, but I didn't hate it. So Dom and Jacob have been estranged. That's why he hasn't been ever brought up, obviously, for years, because when they were younger, their dad, Jack Toretto, he was a racer,
car racer,
not like a legal street racing. Like he was like an actual like race car driver.
Yeah,
sure.
And Dom and Jacob like were a part of like his pit crew. And Dom blames Jacob for the death of their father because Jacob was the last to like work on their dad's car before he died in like an explosive crash on the raceway.
And he was like, "You didn't
and he
fix
was like,
the
it's
car.
Your fault. Dad died."
If you had perfect knowledge of cars like I do, you wouldn't have allowed this defect in the engine that caused our dad to die.
Obviously a horrible thing to happen alone, that your dad died in front of you, but also for your older brother to be like, it's your fault, dad died. So obviously Jacob is not on good terms with Dom, and I will point out, this is one thing that is not really explained in the movie. He like was in the government as like a special forces agent and then just went rogue, and like his motivations for doing that are never really explained.
Money, I think.
People just seem to do that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, he is now up against them because he is clearly responsible for taking down Mr. Nobody. And Jacob and his team have, as a prisoner, Cypher. They have her as a prisoner because they're kind of like consulting with her.
Yeah, they're using her knowledge of how to hack. And the Fast Crew also have their own hacker in Tej.
And Ramsey now.
And Ramsey. They have, remember Ramsey from the previous one? She's in the family now. And so they have their own super hackers. And Ramsey was like, you know how I said I was the best hacker ever in that one movie? I actually am the second best hacker because Cypher's the best hacker. Yeah. But also Tej is really good at hacking. So they do the like duo hacking thing.
Tej is just kind of, he knows a lot about a lot.
Yeah.
He's not really that good at hacking.
He does it a lot, though.
But he does a lot. Well, anyway, the Fast Crew, they go out to the remains of Mr. Nobody's plane, and they end up retrieving a part of a device that's called Project Ares, which can hack into any computer weapon system. So we're back to like crazy tech that should not exist.
They really like the hacking stuff.
So, Jacob's team is using Captive Cypher to help them retrieve the entire device of Project Ares. Now, you're not going to believe what happens next. Remember how our friend Han, he died in a crash, but then we thought he died in a crash, but it was actually that Jason Statham shot him.
But Jason Statham's a good guy now.
Psych! Got you twice. Actually, Han's alive. And Jason Statham didn't kill him.
Shot like next to him, I guess.
No, Jason Statham shot a hologram specifically because before he got killed, quote unquote, before he got killed, Mr. Nobody recruited Han to work on the Project Ares like subplot of this movie, and that's where Han has been this whole time. But he had to legally.
What is
disappear.
he gonna do for Project Ares?
Tokyo
he
Drift.
drive it real good?
Yeah,
Yes.
Obviously,
Stupid idiot.
he was the first one to be recruited by Mr. Nobody out of everyone else because he stands out the most.
Because he knows how to Tokyo Drift.
I'm making a super hacking device that can take over any weapon in the world.
No, Mr. Nobody didn't make it.
Oh, at one
whatever.
at
I
one-
need a really good driver.
At one point, Cypher does hack all the cars, and then she makes like a stampede of cars, like attack. That was in a previous movie. That was
anything can
that was
happen.
my favorite movie where like cars were like
Anything can happen.
descending upon them from parking lots and stuff. It was like raining cars that she was like hacking all of them because they're like cars.
This is really dumb.
They've got computers in them now, and that means I can hack them.
Just wait, for this part is really dumb. Like this movie, like I said, this is one of definitely the weaker links. So Han has been protecting a girl named Elle because her parents are the ones who created Project Ares. Her parents were like killed, so someone could get control of Project Ares. But Elle has a biometric activation key in her DNA.
Oh my god!
Project Ares.
It's just like Titan AE.
And Han has been protecting her. That's what he's been doing all this time, and why we thought he was dead.
Oh my god.
So. Anyway,
whatever.
Jacob.
Yeah.
To sum up the rest of the movie, Jacob ends up getting like betrayed by the rest of his teammates who end up start working with Cypher.
Yeah, Cypher's like, your team works for me now, and he's like, damn, I wish I had a family to be part of. And then Dom's like, you do, and then he's like, wow.
Now, Ethan, there was another thing that you really kind of called earlier. You called the thing about.
You've got your finger on the pulse.
You called the thing about Han. I mean, kind of. You basically got it.
Almost 100%.
Now, also, I totally missed why this was a part of it, but now that Cypher has Project Ares, they're uploading it to a satellite, which will be launched into orbit. Guess how they're gonna stop it, Ethan?
So it previously in the show, they like showed these crazy guys who are like, we're trying to make cars go faster than ever before.
It's not just any crazy guys. It's Sean from Tokyo Drift.
Yeah. Sean from Tokyo Drift is like, we're trying to get cars to go even faster than they've ever gone before. How are we doing that? Well, we're strapping rocket engines onto these bad boys, and we're just trying to see how fast that they can go. And then they're like, we need to get a satellite in space. How could we possibly do that? And then Roman goes, I remember earlier in the movie when there were some guys working on something that might help us with that situation. And then they're like, all right, we're going to launch your car into space. We put a rocket engine on your car. We don't have a
Tej
rocket.
and Roman are in it too.
Yeah. Like, and then they're like,
sure.
How are we going to take out this satellite? And there's only one way to take out this satellite.
We're going to have to do after it.
We're going to have to do a sick car stunt to crash into the satellite. And then they're like, but we're in space. Won't crashing into this satellite kill us? And they're like, maybe so, but we got to do it. But then they remembered
the International Space Station.
They remembered car crashes can't kill you. Space or no. So they crash into the satellite, destroying the satellite, and then they get picked up by the International Space Station, which was zooming by, I guess.
Also,
space isn't that big.
They stop the satellite upload.
Mm-hmm.
Cypher is defeated, but like gets away again. They stop the upload, and Jacob and Dom make amends. There's like this weird, explanation of like Jacob gets to explain that he definitely did not kill their dad. Like it was like a freak accident, and he was told by their dad Jack to tamper with his car so that it would have a malfunction during the race, because the guy who won that race, like, their dad was in debt to him, and like he was like, I'll forgive it if you let me win the next race, I guess. And he was like, so just tamper with my car, because I can't win or I can't lose on purpose. It has to have a reason.
Yeah.
But I guess he tampered with it in a way that it just kind of made him explode.
It exploded.
But
And
so
that's
they
that's a
but
fine line in cars.
Jacob, forgiven.
He's in the family now.
So
Okay.
obviously the car stunt highlight is they blast the car into space, and is
crash it
everyone on
into
good
satellite.
terms with the law? Everyone but Jacob, because he has to be on the run now because he did a lot of bad shit.
But he's a valuable
But he's a member of the family.
Yep.
Again.
Which is more important.
Okay. Yeah, that is more important. So the series is done now, right?
The series
No.
is basically done now. Except for the next,
Except for the next movie, which is Fast X.
get it?
And
It's the 10th one.
Ethan and dear audience, this is the last installment. However, not the final. Our final installment
What?
of the Fast and Furious movies is yet to come out.
It hasn't come out yet, Ethan.
Fast and Furious 11. I think no title
I
pending
think it's gonna
will
be called.
come out soon, sometime.
I think it's gonna be called Fast 1, Furious 1.
It's gonna be
And
called
then the
Faster and
ones are
Furious.
gonna be like the 11, and it's gonna be like, and then the idea is like Fast 1, Furious 1.
Nah.
There's like two
Yeah.
important.
They haven't
figures.
done Faster and Furiouser, so I'm also wondering if they'll pull that out.
Fastest and most furious.
Well, so this one is Fast X
Fast X.
for the Roman
Okay.
numeral for 10.
What in God's name happens in Fast?
Also, you're never gonna believe this, Ethan. This is part 1.
Right. Well, the Fast 11
Because
will be the
Fast
conclusion.
11 will be the direct sequel to this one.
Yeah.
And the final, apparently.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Unfortunately, I will set you up that unfortunately this is gonna have to end on a cliffhanger. But let's go to that cliffhanger.
Literally.
So Brian and Mia haven't come back.
Of
I-
course.
You'll see.
Dom and Letty have been raising their Dom's son. Letty's like his
Little B.
stepmom. Little B. He's now like a middle schooler. And so therefore, when the group, Mr. Nobody is presumably dead, but has passed on his like agency leadership to someone named Agent Ames. He also had like, which was confusing because he had a protege that everyone called Little Nobody, but he is not the person in charge.
He was constantly being like, "Little nobody, you're not ready for."
I
this."
guess, like, I
And guess he
guess
wasn't ready
he's
because
just
that different
still
guy
the
I guess he
French
was not ready, you know.
So by Agent Ames, the crew is given a mission, but Dom and Letty, following in the footsteps of Brian and Mia, are like, we're gonna sit this one out. We have a kid. So Roman and Tej and Han and Ramsey, remember, because Han is alive again, travel to
Yep.
Rome to do this mission. It's to retrieve a computer chip. And
Special computer.
suddenly,
Yeah.
wounded Cypher literally just shows up at Dom and Letty's door. And she's there to warn him of a different bad guy.
She's like, "You thought I was the biggest bad guy in the world? Not so."
Which
There's
is
bad guys
crazy
even bigger
because
than me.
she has no reason to do this.
Her literal reason was like, "Would I be standing here unless I had a good reason to be here?" And they're literally like,
I
"Okay,
guess
that makes
not.
sense
Yeah.
to me."
I don't know why she is motivated to like care about them.
Dom's like, "You
There's
killed
no
my
reason
baby,
here.
my baby mama," and she's like, "Well, then don't I have a good reason to be here?" And he's like, "All right,
I got yeah. It's
if you say,
Well-
if you say so."
now
It seems like you've got some plot to tell me.
let's go back. Let's go back
Ugh.
for a moment
Yeah, we have to go way
to
back.
the 5th movie when they did that safe
The cool
heist,
safe thing with the they're knocking
yeah.
the safe
with
around.
the Brazilian drug lord.
They killed all those dirty cops.
Well, we've had a little flashback to that, and off camera that whole time.
I love when they do the flashback
inserted
and then
another
they sort of
character.
expand the view of the camera a little bit and you see a new character you've never seen before, but
And
they're like, yeah, he's been there the whole
You
time.
know who it is? It's
He's there the whole time.
It's Aquaman, dude.
Jason Momoa. who I really like.
And you're like, well, if Jason Momoa was in the scene, I think you really should.
I would have noticed him.
I feel like I would have noticed that, but okay.
It's Jason Momoa. He is the son of Hernan Reyes. He's Dante Reyes, son of the
Dante.
drug lord
Satan.
that the Fast Crew killed and stole all his money from, and
El
he's
Diablo.
pissed. He's
He's-
pissed that the Fast Crew killed his daddy,
This
and also
it's
took
gonna take
their
me
family
15
fortune.
years, but
I was gonna say
I'm
it's
gonna
gonna
get my
take me
vengeance.
like I would say maybe 10 years to
Yeah.
get up to this, but I'm gonna get you.
He just kind of have to like rebuild his family because they stole all his family's money. Remember
Yeah.
the
Sure.
$100 million? That was his money, and he's mad about it.
So we find out the what's happening in Rome is actually a setup by Dante to take out the Fast Crew, and there is not a computer chip on this vehicle they have boarded, but a huge bomb, a very big bomb
I would
that's
call-
going to go off and take out like
The
all
Vatican.
of Rome, like the Vatican.
It's like aimed at the Vatican. Oh, there's like some Christian undertones in this movie, like Vin
Well, yeah,
Diesel.
because Dom is religious.
Dom's
he has
religious.
a cross
They
necklace.
end every movie with a prayer.
That is true.
Like
Okay.
they're like,
Well, they're
like
seated
praying-
at the dinner table because
Right.
they're family.
The
and having
family's
dinner,
praying
and
before
they say
dinner.
grace before eating.
but like
God, that's so like grossly American.
but then Dom's like, they're gonna explode the Vatican. That's where the Pope lives.
Yeah, we gotta stop them. Well, and my friends.
Yeah, and that.
So Dom and Letty have found this out, and so they head to Rome immediately. They leave little Brian in the care of Mia, who
And
is now
Big
back.
Brian.
So it's fine for them to go do this shit, but not Brian and
Not
Mia.
Brian.
That's why we said this would become
Right.
irrelevant later.
yeah, that's great.
But also Mia's there.
now two kids is the limit.
Yeah.
You can't,
Yeah, that's
can't
when you
do
have
it
to
when
stop.
there's two
But
kids.
Letty's like, this isn't who we are, and I was like, this isn't really who Brian is either. But you
Yeah.
guys are totally cool with just being like him living on the farm up north or whatever. So
This was almost my car stunt highlight, but because it was pretty fun. But Dom is like corralling the bomb, which has been
It's
which like comes out of
it's-
the vehicle and
the
is like
bomb's-
just rolling like Indiana Jones
Yeah,
boulder
the
down
bomb's
through
a big
Rome.
the bomb's a big sphere for some reason. It's a
Yeah,
spherical
yeah.
bomb, and so
Yeah.
it's rolling through the streets of Rome, and he's like sheepdog herding it through the streets.
Because it's not, it doesn't go off on like impact of anything. Apparently, it
It's
like
a
just
timer.
has like a detonation.
Once it gets close to the Vatican.
So Dom manages to like literally like pinball hit it with his car into the Tiber River, where it does explode, but fortunately,
But he
really
saves the Pope.
minimized the damage.
Yeah.
However, still was such a huge bomb. It is like a crazy explosion.
yeah.
And the Fast Crew are, by the delight of Dante, blamed entirely for this terrorist attack. And
Which is
primarily blamed by Agent Ames for some reason. Is like, oh my god, you guys are actually bad guys. You guys did this. So now everyone is against them, and they have to be on the run because everyone thinks they are the ones responsible for setting off this bomb in Rome.
So stupid.
So, manhunt begins. Back in LA, there's a raid on Dom and Letty's house, and Mia is protecting little Brian, and then Uncle Jacob shows up to also protect little Brian. It's
he
John
heard-
Cena,
Oh,
who's
cool.
back.
He heard the family's in trouble. He saves his nephew,
Yep.
and
Very, very cool.
like what sends Mia
He and-
off.
Yeah,
to
Mia
go
goes
be
off.
back with Brian
yeah,
or whatever.
to like go be on her own. She can handle herself.
Whatever. He's like, I'm gonna take you back to your dad, little boy.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Well, they have, like,
Uncle John Cena.
a
Thanks.
pre-established like rendezvous point in Portugal. So that's where they are headed.
If anything ever happens to us, meet up in Portugal.
I mean, that's like what is established. So
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
Very convenient.
meanwhile, Dante is messing with Dom in every way. Like he has like his hands in the pockets of like literally every person possible, and is just popping up everywhere. Like Dom is goes to meet some friends that he knows from street racing, and like Dante shows up there. He shows up literally everywhere and knows everyone. And
It's like
the reason
devoted
why,
his life to fucking with this guy.
Yeah, the reason why Cypher was scared of him was because Dante like took over her team of henchmen. Like
Which
by,
isn't
like,
that hard because they've been taken over like
yeah,
5
like
other
but like
times.
so they all work for him. So that's why she like came to warn him, I guess, because she's like, this guy stole all my shit and my guys, and he's coming for you. I guess would be her motivation, but
I guess.
So anyway, he's really fucking with Dom. Dante even manages to steal previously mentioned God's Eye and is using that to track Dom everywhere.
Yeah, remember that one? That's still a thing. He's got it
Yeah,
now.
great, cool,
Then
fun.
we find out that Dante is working with Agent Ames. He's been a double agent. That's why he was so quick to be like, the Fast Five are terrorists.
It was,
Yep,
it was,
yeah,
it was
that
all,
sounds about right.
Much to
Yep,
the
yep.
dismay of little nobody who's been on the crew side, as well as like, I just felt this was very odd. Brie Larson is here playing Tess, who is Mr. Nobody's daughter.
Mr. Nobody's kind of
she's
important,
like-
but he's also kind of not.
She's
It's-
like hardly in it and really barely does anything, but she's also on
it's
their
like,
side.
I believe you
It's very
guys. My dad loved you guys.
Yeah.
You were like sons to him. Mwah, mwah.
odd.
You were family.
Wow.
So
Oh,
So,
family.
so much like tracing and shit happens. But Roman and Tej and Han and Ramsey were like at one point when they like seemed to have convinced Ames that they were innocent, and so Ames was like, "Okay, get on my plane. We're gonna go save Dom." Then Ames does the whole thing, and he's like, "I'm actually a double agent," and he crashes the plane
Shoots them down.
that Tej, Han, Roman, and Ramsey are on.
There were cars on
So
the plane,
they are
though, so I'm not.
presumably dead.
I'm not too concerned.
They weren't
about
in
it.
a car.
This is the part where we're speculating because again, there's no conclusion to this. The last time we see those guys, they
went down in a plane.
fiery plane crash.
Also, Jacob seemingly dies in a crash while trying to protect little Brian because Dante is going like also straight after little Brian because he knows he's Dom's son and he's like, "Ha, I'm gonna kill your son."
He's also really like.
I-
John Cena had a little speech first. He's like, "You gotta live on without me, big bro.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go meet Dad in the afterlife we believe in." And then he like kills himself with his cannon car he was driving. There's a lot of things happening in this
I
last one.
forgot to point this out, but a saving grace. I don't think this movie's very good. A saving grace of this movie, though, is Jason Momoa,
He's doing a
who
really
is
good job.
clearly having the time of his life playing this character because Dante Reyes is like. He's a gay man and very fruity and like
And he's like super
very
over the
silly,
top with
over
it.
the top, and he's so much fun to watch.
He's like,
and he's
"Whoa!
like
Oh my god!
Yeah, he's
they
like-
exploded!"
dancing around everything and like giggling, and he's wearing like really fun outfits that I really
it's pretty
love.
good. Yeah.
I love that for Jason Momoa. I don't know if I love that for like the way we've been describing this series' Christian values.
I know it is kind of weird. He's I mean, but the gay villain has always existed.
Yeah,
in
I mean,
media.
in fairness,
true.
there's plenty of gay overtones with the main characters as well. So
That's
Anyway.
you know what, CJ? That's something.
Anyway,
They're
little
just trying
Brian
to-
also got kidnapped at one point, but Dom got him back, and
Mhm.
at this point, they're really cornered on a dam facing Dante. Dante blows up the dam.
they drive off,
and that
the
is my
dam.
car highlight, which is Dom drives down the
The
dam
dam as it's
while it
exploding.
is exploding, which is pretty great.
Being
His
chased
son's
by
in the
fire
car.
and water. There's
Meanwhile,
one point where the fire envelops the car, and then he hits the nos, and it like explodes out of the explosion.
meanwhile,
Kicks ass.
Letty has meanwhile gone to like team up with Cypher, and they're working on some other shit because like everyone else is incapacitated. It's down
Cypher
to
has
like
like a
Yeah.
new stupid haircut.
it's Letty and Cypher. Oh yeah, who I forgot to mention has had different haircuts every
in
movie.
each movie,
but-
each of them stupider than the
They've all
last.
been bad.
She has
However-
she has like a bowl cut in this one.
They also get into a very compromised corner position, not without meeting Giselle, who we thought died.
She literally died in a fiery
but she
explosion.
randomly appears at the end of this movie to help Cypher and Letty.
So if you're
As did we know he's fine, but Deckard Shaw also briefly appeared to provide a little bit of assistance earlier, but it's really not worth mentioning.
So if you're keeping track at home, no one has died so far.
But presumably,
it's implied that
everyone
Mr. Nobody
has
dead.
gone into a precarious situation, and Dom and little Brian are cornered by Dante, and that is where this movie ends.
Literally, no one has died except for Paul Walker, who actually died
In real life.
But he's not.
But
he's
even
not,
he has
even
days
he's
in
not dead in
character.
the movie. And
Yeah.
and we're leaving out so much, Ethan. Like how Tej and Roman have this like back and forth thing that, and like everyone dumps on Roman for being a little bitch or whatever.
Because I guess everyone is like, he's so stupid.
He's so
He's
lame.
really not.
And there's like a love triangle with Ramsey, and it's like
Ramsey and Tej and Roman.
Ramsey and Tej.
I literally presumed that shit in my mind while we were going. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, they added this new female character in, so there's probably some kind of shit going on with that. And
I'm sure you were worried about him, but don't worry. The mid-credits scene of this movie, we get The Rock getting pulled into this by Dante as well.
Dante's
So
like
he will be in the next one.
Dante's
surely.
like, Vin Diesel was my big enemy, but I know you helped him, and I'm coming for you. And The Rock's like, I'm gonna.
I'll get you.
Yeah, he's like, he like does a one-liner, and I was like,
can
that
you
was, like,
smell what the Rock's cooking?
I was like, this is the lamest one-liner I've ever heard. Because like he always has scenes where he's just like, if you're gonna come at me, you better come hard, and like shit like that. And
Oh, my favorite Rock line is from the fifth movie when someone is like, I've got good news and bad news, and he says, you know I like my dessert first.
you know I like my dessert
And then
first.
she's like tells him the good news, and he's like, now hand me the vegetables.
It's so stupid.
Well,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that-
yeah.
And that, Ethan, brings you up to date on
Every-
the Fast and the Furious. You'll be ready to see our 11th movie, a continuation of
Yeah.
Fast X.
All of the allies are dead. All of the
Presumably.
women are together,
But cornered.
in some fucking in the
They're
Arctic.
in like the Arctic.
I think they went back to the submarine or
They
something.
did, yes, because Giselle appears in the submarine.
Yeah, they're like, go back to the nuclear sub from the previous one. Everyone loved that set piece. And the last we saw Vin Diesel and his son is they were careening into a reservoir under a dam after escaping a big explosion. And Jason Momoa is like, I'm gonna fuck your mouth, Vin Diesel.
God.
Yeah, okay. I'm really glad I'm caught up.
There's
now.
literally
wait.
nowhere else to go unless
I forgot to share also, is everyone on good terms with the law? Questionable.
probably
What
not.
does law even mean?
I
in
really
this
don't
land?
know.
I don't think so, because technically the one guy who now controls the deep state is against them. He's teamed up with Jason Momoa.
There is no
Right.
law
Though
any
I
longer.
suspect a double betrayal on him. If I have to
Yeah,
put
I
my
don't
critical
know.
thinking hat on, he's too white and muscular to be a bad guy.
Well,
I
they
think
also
he's gonna
have-
be a good
They
guy.
also brought in Brie Larson as Mr. Nobody's daughter, so I don't,
Mm-hmm.
and like we still have Little Nobody, who was his protege. So I don't know.
And like that was a whole thing where he was like, "You're
Listen,
like Mr.
listen.
Nobody, but you're like younger and smaller. You're like little
This
nobody."
is-
And he's like, "Don't
This
say
is
that."
all very stupid.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to put any like actual brain energy
Well,
into
listen, we have answered our question of how did this series that started just about being cargo fast, illegal street racing to saving the world from cyber terrorists.
I predict. Here's my prediction. In the last movie, there's going to be a moment when someone, maybe it's Brian, off screen, gets exploded by a nuke or something. And Vin Diesel
That would be in
goes
poor taste.
and Vin Diesel
Brian?
goes, yeah. And Vin Diesel goes, "No, my brother.
My brother.
I wasn't fast enough then, but I'll be fast enough now." And he starts driving around the world in like the opposite direction with the world spinning,
Oh
like
my God.
like Superman in that
and
one
he
movie.
undoes time.
And he goes backwards in time,
Wow.
and he stops them, and he meets himself, and he goes,
No.
and
for,
then
for those at home listening, CJ's doing another Vin Diesel squinty smile.
and he smiles at himself, and he goes, "You did all right." And he's like, "That's right."
When you're here, you're family.
I love
Listen.
you. And then he kisses
Yeah,
himself on the forehead.
You're me, which technically makes you family.
It's the only like, listen, multiverses are very popular right now. And it's the
They're
one,
not. They're no.
It's the one realm they've yet to conquer. I think it might. I don't know. What do you think, honey?
What if the final movie's called like Fast Enough or something like that?
I think that we've finally made it to the end of this episode.
That's
Yeah.
right, Ethan. We have made it to the end of the episode. And so have you. Thank you again for listening to another episode of The Lore You Know. We appreciate you. You are like family to us in a meaningful way. I would drive cars to save you. I would drive cars backwards against the Earth's rotational force to save you. If that
Launch a
is
car
how
into space.
I'd launch a car into space. That's actually how we upload all the episodes. I just poof and put it in the satellites with a little USB drive because they won't allow this any other way. But thanks, guys, for listening. If you would like to, if the mood strikes you, why don't you hit the like button or the subscribe button or the follow button or the 5-star review button? Because we love that sort of thing. That fuels us in the same way that nitrous oxide fuels the fast cars. And speaking of fuel and bad segues, thanks Galestorm Kitsune for doing the artwork for the channel, and to Apagio for doing the intro and outro music. That's awesome. Stay tuned for more content because we keep making stuff. I love that. Against all odds, we're making more stuff. So, hit that subscribe. Tell your friends.
Kind of like the Fast and the Furious movies.
It really is. It just won't die.
Just keep going.
They're like, what are they going to talk about now? It doesn't even make sense anymore. It's like, oh, whatever. Cars. It's a car-only channel now. We're just going to talk about our favorite cars.
Faster and Furious, sir.
My favorite car? 1993 Buick LeSabre. It's fast. I think that's it. Is that it?
Yep.
Let's call it. I've been CJ.
I've been Ethan.
I've been Liz.
And
don't drive a car through buildings.
Install nitrous on your car. It will fix whatever issues you're having.
Drink NOS.
And just stay in a car. Whenever anything bad's happening, you will be safe. I guess. The end.
Bye-bye.